know why I brought my whole work.
I brought everything. I've been reading federal law all day. Don't you love a federal opinion? 74 pages later. We used to say that, but now we say this, and here's why. And a page of cites to go back.
Madam Mayor, it is 6:02.
They know when we're doing it. Good evening, everyone. And welcome to the Tuesday, July 21st meeting of the City of Lake Worth Beach Commission. May we have the roll call?
Mayor Betty Resch.
Here.
Vice Mayor Mimi May.
Present.
Commissioner Sarah Maliga.
Present.
Commissioner Christopher McVoy.
Here.
Commissioner Anthony Segrich.
Present.
Thank you. Ms. May will invoke a silence, and then the pledge will be led by Mr. Segrich.
Ms. May will invoke silence.
Invoke silence.
Okay, well, let's invoke silence.
That's easy.
Sounds good to me. I do actually want to say something.
You took me very, very.
I know, but I do really want
Literally, you say whatever you want.
No, I was just thinking about how one of our residents recently had a stroke and just how precious every minute of our life is, and that you have no idea when it's going to change. You know, we had with the recent loss on the scooter and the stroke, and it's just every day is gift. And I just want us to remember that and think about what we do with our days. You know, when we go to bed at night, are we proud of ourselves? Amen.
Amen.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, in terms of additions, deletions, and reordering, Beth Harrelson, who was not able to make a Zoom meeting last night, is able to make the Zoom meeting today for a quick interview. Is there any objection to that happening right now?
No.
I have it because I have my packet from last night.
I have my packet.
I have mine.
Today's packet.
Well, they didn't redo it. Okay. Okay, so we will let Beth speak. Let me just see where she is here.
2 seconds.
There is no back on any of these.
Because of
here.
yeah, we know that. No, we're just talking.
I'm sorry.
No, there was, we see you. There was just a confusion about you not being here last night and not being on the list, but she would have been on the list if in fact she thought she could get to the
Which list?
So I put new lists up
she's on the- she's on the
a
new
while
one.
ago, and everybody that was interviewed yesterday and today is on that. There are 2 pages, one for CRA, one for Education and Advisory Board. It indicates the few people who applied to both.
Okay, I found it.
All right. Okay, so, but that's the first thing. And then any additions, deletions, or reordering from anybody else? Hearing none. Can we accept the agenda as amended with Ms. Harrelson?
Motion to approve agenda as amended with Ms. Harrelson. Second.
Second from Mr. McVoy. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, Beth, the way it works is we've got you talk to us for a minute, and then we each have a minute to question you. So it's a 5-minute, it's a quickie.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Okay, well, a little bit about
Lead,
me. My husband, I'm Beth Harrelson. And thank you for being flexible, by the way, and seeing me tonight. My husband and I moved down to we're in South Palm Park. We moved down about 5 years ago from the Carolinas when our last child left the nest. And I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I've been in the nonprofit world for over 20 years as a director of development communications. For most of that time, I am an advocate specifically around equity and quality education and child welfare causes, as well as animal welfare. I've been wanting to get involved in the community, and I've just been kind of wondering what the best way for me to do that would be. And when I saw the opportunity for the Education Advisory Board, I thought it would be a great match for me and feel like I can do good for the community as well.
Thank you. That's a minute. It
Oh, I'm
goes very
sorry.
quickly.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We're going to start tonight with Mr. Segrich asking a question and go
Okay.
down that way.
Thank you. And thank you for applying. What do you see as some of the greatest challenges for our schools here in Lake Worth Beach?
Yeah, I feel like there is definitely a need for kind of a bridge of communication between maybe the commission and the city and our schools. I'm a big communications person, so being available and really listening to the needs of what our schools or the particular schools are, and being able to come back and come back and articulate what those needs are, and so that we can improve whatever issues may be outlying in those particular schools. So I think that there's just a need for clear communication and kind of that middle person to help bring that bridge together a little bit. That makes any sense.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ms. May?
Hi, thank you. And thank you for being here tonight. My question is just regarding timing. The Education Advisory Board meets the first Thursday of every month,
Mhm.
and you would be assigned to one of the schools and be part of their SAC. Some of them meet during the day, some of them meet during the evening. Would you have that availability?
Yeah, I'm very flexible. I work from home part-time. I freelance, so my schedule is kind of my own. So,
Fabulous.
yeah. So
Yeah.
as long as it's on my calendar and I know, then I'm good.
Yes, yes. Okay, great. Thanks, Beth. I appreciate it.
Sure. Of course.
Mr. McBoy?
Thank you. Thank you for applying and being interested in the community. You mentioned on the CRA that we are a diamond in the rough, and you'd like that the diamond's good, but you'd like to do something about the rough. Tell me more
I'm sorry.
what you see as needing polishing in the rough part.
I just think that when I happened upon Lake Worth Beach, I personally felt like I found this beautiful space that I wanted to kind of tell everybody about, which I do. And I don't know, I just feel like there is a lot of potential in the community in terms of outreach to let people know we're here, to maybe some beautification pieces to make us somewhat more inviting, to come and stop here on your way down Dixie Highway, just little things like that. But once you get into the heart of our community, it's like you don't want to leave. So I just want to kind of, like I said, tell the world that we're here. And, and there's just, to me, it's just small things, but they add up to one big thing to bring in people to share this beautiful, wonderful, quirky little place that I love. I've loved so much for the last 5 years.
Thank you. Ms. Malega?
Thank you. Thank you, Beth, for applying. As everybody else has said, and thank you for giving Lake Worth Beach the opportunity to welcome you here to your new home. I do have a question. Have you ever attended a CRA meeting, and do you understand the boundaries?
So I have not. And just to be clear, I'm really interested in the Educational Advisory Board more than the CRA. So I'm not sure how I got on both those lists. That could have probably my fault, but when I applied, but I truly want to work within the education realm, if that helps at all.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sure.
Hi, and thank you again. That's fine. Thank you. Thank you for applying. You mentioned on your application that you would be interested in Sacred Heart School.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you
Sure.
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you
of
very
course.
much.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think we were pretty short tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And you can either stay on or
Okay.
go back to wherever you are.
All right. I appreciate your time. Have a good evening.
And watch us on YouTube. Have a glass of wine.
They're really
There you go. Thank
No
you so
wine.
much.
No whining.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Thank you. Okay. So now we are at where we vote.
Don't we?
No,
have
we
public?
don't. Never mind. We have public participation of non-agenda items. I have two cards, Peggy Fisher and Mr. Hitchcock.
Right.
Peggy Fisher, 508 North A Street. I'm sorry I was not at last night's meeting. I had another obligation that was family related and more important. But I would like to say, as far as code is concerned, you all had given a directive to focus on life, health, safety issues. And as a result, complaints that are put in about other items that affect the environment in which the people in the neighborhood live in and the status of things in the neighborhood aren't necessarily getting addressed. Whether it's 4 or 5 cars parked on grass, whether it's bulk that's there unless somebody else reports it, height of lawns. There are other things that affect the residents of the city. And I appreciate focusing on life, health, and safety, but we can't have our, in my opinion, it's not proper to just go to a complaint, look at it and say, well, I'm not going to see all those other things. I'm just going to see hurricane shutters not raised or the height of grass or something like that. So I just wanted to encourage you all to revise your direction to the code department in terms of what really benefits everyone in the city. And so that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hitchcock?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Name is Wade Hitchcock, 1506 13th Avenue North. My question is today is, with school getting ready to open here soon on 10th Avenue, where a lot of kids travel, and they're all going to have their little scooters, we got bushes that are way too high. I sit in a truck and I can't even see over them. On C Street, there's D Street, the light. When you start looking, because these kids don't look for us, we have to do so much to look for them. And you see just what happened up the road with the 2 kids on a motorcycle, 1 dead. I would like to see the school year start off not that way, because they have no respect for the road, their electric bikes. They just think no problem with their scooters. So it'd be nice to see code go out there and cut them, or give me permission. I'll cut them. I have no problem, but I just don't want none of these kids to get killed, because you just can't see them. So that's one of my
Along
complaints.
10th Avenue North.
Yeah, on the north side. The other side's more open.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hitchcock. We appreciate it. All right.
Just ask just make a comment on
Sure.
that. Because, and this is just for the city manager, maybe for code. Besides 10th Avenue North, that is becoming a bigger issue, I believe, in the city, is the blind corners with overgrown bushes, basically. A lot of the Calusa plants that were planted, and when everybody got so excited and found the Calusa plant, and now they've grown so much that blind corners are everywhere. And I think that, if code's driving around, they see the corners. That is one that if you went from any neighborhood, because I know I can't see it coming out of my street. Right, exactly. But it's like if you live on a corner, go outside and look at your bushes.
I think they are more. I just got a call from a resident who lives on South Lakeside, and he was like, hey, and it was the same thing, the big Calusa trees. And I've talked to him and I talked to code, and they're going to meet with him and tell him what he needs to do. Mr. Middleton. So, but I think they are paying more attention to it. And I agree with you that they should. Yeah.
I would add to that, and with that conversation with several others that have gotten cited for it, the way our code is worded it's not particularly clear to the resident. Is it from the edge of the sidewalk? Is it from the outer edge of the sidewalk? It would be extremely helpful that if, when the code officer is out there, they're citing, they could either give them a little marking, so they know, okay, this is where you should start. And I think people would be appreciative of that, to be able to, even if they just tied like a little survey tape on it, you know, or use, spray painted a leaf on it or something, but that would help.
Yeah, they're meeting with him. So, but yeah, so just, I think it's a good point, well taken to staff. Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes. Do I have a
Motion to approve the minutes.
by Ms. May, second by Ms. Malega, all in favor?
Aye.
Unfinished business, Community Redevelopment Agency and Education Advisory Board appointments. So we have been given these score sheets, these things, and I guess, I don't know, we rarely, so we vote and then we talk. We can always change our vote, I think, depending on how things are going. Which board would you like to take first?
The education.
Yeah. So would somebody, EAB, electric,
Education.
all right. And we have 7 openings on the education. It's a new board. And we're not appointing them. You see the list of schools on the bottom. I think it's best to leave it up to them to decide who wants to get what school. I mean, that's why would we tell them? So a couple of people have been in some of the schools already. So, for the record, Ms. Harrelson, Ms. Horn, Ms. Kerner, Ms. Polanco.
Aren't we doing the education one?
Yes, but they have,
Oh.
but if you look at it, it says they're also interested in EAB.
Got it.
So, so somewhere on the, Mr. Rosworthy and Mr. Slide. Okay.
I mean, I think honestly, if you count the ones
Mhm.
that there are 7,
Yeah. 1, 2.
there's 8.
Well,
Oh, I didn't know that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Anthony's
There's
right, that's
8. But Ms. Kerner is on the CRA now. That would be if there's going to be an 8, and she's already on a board. She's already on the CRA. So, do you want to just rank? Do you want to talk about it before? Or do you just want to write Mr. Secretary? Like it's on.
I was just going to say, just based on the clerk's email, maybe not everyone read it, but there are 8. So to that list, we have to add Autumn Horn, Donna Kerner, and Bunny Riviera, who all expressed interest. Autumn Horn expressed interest during her interview, but has not returned the clerk's phone call or email. So we don't know definitively on the second outreach, but the rest of them all did say they would serve.
Okay, so can we make a motion for that?
Are you saying not? Madam Clerk, did you not hear? Were you unclear about Ms. Horn's position about the education board?
So we listened to the meeting again, and during her interview, she did say that she would serve. I called her this morning, I called her this afternoon, and I also emailed her. But based on her interview yesterday, she said she would serve on that if she wasn't chosen for the CRA.
Yeah.
And Donna Kerner is also on the Tree and Landscape Board.
Oh, okay.
So that's a lot of boards.
That's a lot of
I didn't even know you could be on one.
I didn't know. Right.
Well,
Okay.
her term is up on CRA.
Well,
But she's on the Tree and Landscape Board too.
as well, but also
And
people have
CRA.
been on the CRA for more than one term. That's not unusual.
Yeah, some have been on there for
Yeah.
13, 14 years.
12.
No.
Carla, I think, has been under.
Carla's been on a long time, and Miss Lurch has been on there a long time. LOERT.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I
So,
see Miss.
would somebody like to make a motion? Do you want to discuss it any further?
I would make a motion to, and this is the EAB, to
Yeah.
appoint Rebecca Gilmartin, Beth Harrelson, Alan Nosworthy, Alicia Polanco, Jay Southwick, and Autumn Horn, and Bunny onto the education board. Bunny,
Rivera.
But what about
Second.
Miss
Rivera.
What about Miss Harrelson?
what's,
He said yes. He
I
said her.
I did.
Basically everybody, but he did not say Donna.
Okay, let's,
No.
Get that.
I
So-
heard it.
all right, so Harrelson, Horn,
Yes.
Slide, Polanco,
Slippy.
Nosworthy,
Sylvie.
Sylvie.
Yeah.
Sylvia, Nosworthy and Rebecca Gilmartin. Is that 7?
Yes.
It
Okay.
is.
There's a motion. There's a second by Ms. Malega, I think?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you have your thing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You said it from before.
What?
Just because we haven't heard from Autumn, are you guys comfortable with that if, for whatever reason, after we appoint, and Autumn might come back and say, actually, I don't want to be, we could appoint Donna
No,
as the
because she's
alternate?
already on.
She's not on the list that he just read. He said Rebecca.
I understand.
He knows.
My problem with that is that she's already on the tree and landscape board. I would prefer somebody pick a board.
I don't, she's been on the
Yeah.
series.
Well, I'd say we deal with the autumn situation as it arises.
Yeah, I mean, she did say that she would be willing to serve.
I mean, you're the liaison. It doesn't really matter to us, but I just think that one board, one person, one board makes sense.
Okay.
But I'm confused. That's not on the list that he just read. He didn't say Autumn.
I
Yes,
did.
he did.
Me too.
I think you said Rebecca, Beth, Alan, Alicia. Oh, that's right. Autumn's added. Never
Yep.
mind. You're wrong. Right. So we have a first and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so just for the record, on the EAB is Rebecca Gilmartin, Beth Harrelson, Alan Nosworthy, Alicia Polanco, Jay Silpy,
Autumn.
Autumn Horn,
Bonnie.
Bunny
and
Rivera.
Benny Rivera.
Rivera, no, it's.
But I'm missing one. Beth Harrelson.
Okay. All right, so the CRA, we have,
Do we have to hand these in?
What was it?
If you,
I didn't hear you.
I turn all my notes in just in case there's a public record request, but it's up to you.
So for the CRA, there's 2 people whose terms are ending, Mr. Wallen, who only got to serve 1 year of a term. I would like to see him continue. And I think that, we have a couple of people are already on boards, and I think going along with what you're saying, be on one board. I would like to see Mr. Wallen, and I would also like to see, Donna Kerner's been on it for she's been on 1 term. I wouldn't object if she was on another term.
The 2 that were on planning and zoning, I'm not trying to sway you either way, but they both said that they would.
I know.
Step down.
Yeah, I know.
So they would not be on 2 boards.
But no, I understand that.
Okay, I just wanted to make.
They're already on, they're already serving the city, so
But
that's
that
kind of
makes
what
me
I'm doing.
fearful that now we have to go out to planning and zoning and we fill that board, and then if we don't fill it in time, are they
Right,
gonna
we've got issues.
are they gonna make the meetings and?
Mr. McCoy.
I would like, what I'm looking for on the CRA, since that's a pretty important board, it has taxing authority, makes pretty big decisions both on affordable housing and on our downtown and the corridors. So I'd like to see a range of expertise and representation on it. And for me, that would mean Mr. Walewski, I think, definitely brings a lot of experience and expertise and a longtime resident. And I think Ms. Kerner, likewise, different expertise and good connection to the community and no connection to real estate or building things. There are other people who cover that. So those would be my 2.
I'm going to pass the gavel and make a motion.
Can we
Can we
talk
talk?
first?
Okay, yeah.
I would-
Somebody else made a motion on the last one.
I would be in favor of keeping Harry because he does have a lot of experience, not on the CRA board, but in other TIF districts. And I think that he's done well from me attending the meetings. And I would support keeping Donna Kerner on. Again, the other 2 people, Daniel and Greg. I personally don't want to ruffle P and Z right now when we have a lot of important projects coming down.
Would you like to move? All right, Mr. Segrich?
One, I think we should do the ranking because I don't think we're going to have consensus. So I think the ranking exercise will be important. I disagree. I think that Daniel, given his experience and skill sets, would absolutely be a huge value add to the CRA. Some of my concerns And some of the heavy concerns that a lot of people have raised about the CRA is, and whether they're accurate or not, remains, I think it depends on the situation, is that we get ourselves into agreements with developers that really don't work out for the city or the CRA. And I think his experience in these large scale projects and the contracts and the financials involved in that would help it out an awful lot. I'm less concerned about planning and zoning. I understand we'd have to replace a position, but we have time. It's not like this would be instantaneous. We have a little bit of time, and there was great interest in planning and zoning when we had the last round of interviews. So I think we would be able to do that. Donna is on another board, the tree board, and you guys literally just all said you don't want people on two boards.
No,
Well, some of you did.
I don't have a problem.
So,
Quite different.
in terms of where I would sit, I would actually be leaning more towards Daniel and Greg.
Thank you. Mr. Walewski, I've done a little digging into his background and I'm not as convinced of the expertise that he spoke about. So, I would like to see Harry continue. And I think Donna has been doing a good job on the board. She's she's a different voice on the board. And I think that's important. I don't always agree with her, but she's one of many. So, with something like maybe-
I'll make a motion. If it fails, it fails. Oh, does you have the light on you?
I just kind of assumed we were all gonna share.
Oh,
Sharon.
I thought you.
Sharon, if you were looking for my 2 cents, I think that Harry has started his position as 1 year, and I think he should see that out. And I think that I would like to see Greg Richter on the board. I feel like he has shown interest in that. He has applied a number of times. And I believe Donna has
Mhm.
completed her term. She has done a great job. She is on the tree board. She does a lot for this city. She doesn't need to continue on that board. I think it's time to give somebody else a chance.
Mr. McCoy.
I think the argument that somebody needs to finish their term, Mr. Wallen, no disrespect to Mr. Wallen, but his term was a year. So he's finished his term. So that argument doesn't strike me as very strong. I'm not sure what the mayor's investigation led to. I don't know Mr. Walewski real well, but I have interacted with him over the years. I know that he has served on a board with the county for a number of years that I believe Wes Blackman also serves on. He definitely has a lot of experience and knowledge that I think would be quite useful to the CRA. I think the argument that we don't want people to serve on two boards, we've had people serve on multiple boards before. I think that's a decision up to the person. If we had a history with any individual that they, regularly did not attend one or the other board, or, didn't serve well for some reason, that would be different, but we have a mechanism to deal with that, and that hasn't kicked in, so I'm assuming it works fine. So I would stick with my suggestion of the expertise that Mr. Walewski brings and the broad community connection and experience that Ms. Kerner brings.
Thank you.
And I would also point out that in terms of representing more the realtor and real estate side of things, we have quite a bit of representation of that already on the board.
Yeah, I have a problem with, I think that, the tree board and another board is one thing, but the CRA and the P&Z, I think there's a potential there to clash.
It's,
Well, I understand,
they,
but I'm
just
just,
so, if I may interrupt,
They can.
they cannot serve on two decision-making boards.
Yeah, but they never asked to.
But
right, she's
just
just
so you know,
clarifying.
that
Okay.
you can serve on two advisory boards or a decision-making board and an advisory board.
Okay. Miss Fisher.
I think then we instead of a motion for 2 people, we list ours and see where we end up. How many votes people get.
Peggy Fisher, 508 North A Street. Mr. Woolen's term of 1 year was determined by you all when, after you appointed people to the CRA to fill vacancies, someone had to be chosen to complete a term. That's how he ended up with a 1 year timeframe. I will say that Greg Richter has shown interest in the CRA numerous times, and he brings experience that he served on, and I don't know the exact, I'm sure it's in his application. He served in Virginia for a number of years on a land use board, which I think would be a big benefit to the CRA. And as far as someone serving on the CRA and the tree board, as Ms. Kerner does, she's actually the chair of it. You all need to remember that you have looped in the tree board to your complete review of the landscape policy for the city. So it's not just a small advisory board that, occasionally comes up and talks about trees and tree canopies or working with Nest to plant trees. And I hope we can get some trees planted in the renovated Tropical Ridge Fitness Park. But it is going to put a lot of demands on that board, which typically only has 4 people on the board and at the meetings. So I just wanted to provide some public input to you all in addition to what you have on the applications. And I do think it's a good idea to have a person on one board because special meetings come up, schedules change, schedule of meetings change. And so people have to have a lot of flexibility. So
Thank you. That's time.
thank you.
I would be,
Madam Mayor,
yes.
so the last round of interviews, when it came time after discussion, each commissioner ranked first, second, and third. They did 3 choices, and then we added up the points. So whoever got 3 points, 2 points, 1 point, and then we went by the total of points rather than picking 2 people, because you're only picking 2 people. I'm just saying that's how it was done last time.
Thank you. I mean, it's not, there's no written rule of how we have to do this.
Mm-mm.
Um,
I'd like to make a motion to follow the clerk's
It's
advice.
fine. We don't have the motion for that. Okay. So your first and so 1, 2, and 3. 3 points for right. I was gonna say right. Right. So it's 3, 2, 1, really.
Correct.
So are you going to collect our pieces of paper? Or we're just going to go out? Say it out loud. They have, yeah.
So last time everybody said that we went one by one. I have a tally sheet
Okay.
for, so I can write down each person's and then add them up.
Okay, thank you. Let's start with District 1.
It's always fun to be number
I know,
one.
I know.
My first choice with 3 points is Harry. My second choice with 2 is Greg Richter, and Donna Kerner 1.
Thank you. Mr. McBoy?
Why don't you skip over me? I'm still thinking
Oh, you're,
on the last one.
oh, you're 2. Let me go ahead and go to Mr. Oh, wait.
What's that?
Roland 3.
Harry 3, Greg 2, Donna 1.
Dan Waleski, 3, Donna Kerner, 2, Autumn Horn, 1.
Thank you. Ms. May?
Wait, I'm sorry. Commissioner Autumn Hall, so you did just appoint her the EAB.
Autumn just
Okay.
went on the EAD.
Okay.
Okay. Miss May.
I'm gonna do Greg Richter as 3 points.
I'm sorry, could you speak into your mic?
I'm sorry. I'm gonna do Greg Richter with 3 points. I'm gonna do Harry Wolin with 2 and Dan with 1. Daniel
Mr.
Walensky with 1.
Mr. Segridge.
I will do Daniel with 3 points, Greg Richter with 2 points, and Harry with 1.
Okay. And I will do Harry with 3 points, Greg with 2 points, and Donna Kerner with 1 point.
Okay, so 7,
Okay, I will add them up.
2, 4, 6, 9. Greg and Harry both have 9. Okay. And Donna has 4 and Dan has 7. So Harry and Greg.
Harry and Greg. Okay.
Motion to approve.
Well, we have to hear the official from our clerk.
Yes, I concur
We
with
don't
the
have a math teacher here doing the addition.
Yes, so that is correct. Both
Okay.
Greg Richter and Harry Wolin had nine points.
Great.
So I make a motion to appoint Harry Wolin and Greg Richter to CRA and then open up for applications for 1 more in planning and zoning.
Second.
Ms. Malega, all in favor? Aye.
Nay.
Thank you very much. Electric utility beach tie line logistics update. By our own Mr. Liberty, past president of the Florida Municipal Electric Association, who was honored the other night at a dinner and thanked by the association for his good work, ongoing and continuing good work.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Oh, it was a delight.
It's a pleasure to,
A lot. He paid me a lot. I got
Pleasure
free
to-
electric for a week.
pleasure to have served. And I did point out that it had been since 1984, we think, that Lake Worth Beach had last been invited to sit at the grown-up table.
Yeah.
So it was great. It was great to be there, and we look forward to having more people from Lake Worth Beach in those roles.
Absolutely.
So tonight we're going to brief you on where we are with the lagoon crossing or the beach tie or the intercoastal waterway crossing, whatever we want to call it. But this is the replacement of the submarine cable, as some people refer to it, that currently serves the beach. The date that it's been out there since is a little unknown in our records. It's somewhere between the 60s to the 80s that it's been out there. It's direct buried in the mud. It operates at 4,000 volts, and there are 2 lines. And it's something we've talked about for quite some time that needed to be replaced. We're going to do a little bit of a refresher and excuse me?
Yeah.
No, it's just a cable direct buried in the mud.
It's a little better than an extension cord, but not much.
Yes, yes. And it appears to have worked, but we can't assume that it'll work forever.
And when it does not, this is why we're here tonight.
Exactly. So we've been preparing this for some time. So it's a little bit of a refresher on what we've done so far, and then informing you of what we'd like to do next, which is, of course, going to be to bore a big hole. But we'll get to that in a few minutes. So you all approved us going ahead effectively on September 30th of 2025, history perspective, which allowed us to submit an easement application to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for the subaqueous electric lines across the Lake Worth Lagoon. Fancy words. During the course of this process, we involved a number of consultants and consulting engineers to do both the engineering and the permit applications on our behalf. WSP, under what we refer to as Task Order 4, they performed the original engineering analysis and the baseline feasibility study for routing of this cable, of this new cable. And the new cable is shown in here in bright, I'm colorblind, but it looks like bright yellow to me. So we all agree on that. Some people suggest that I need to go back to first or second grade and learn my colors again, but that's just not going to happen. We then engaged them to do the final engineering, which went to the Army Corps of Engineers for ultimate, review. And then we did a comprehensive design, which included the topographic, the hydrographic, and the subsurface utility engineering work under the lagoon. I should point out that we also did extensive bores or drills down to get samples. I think we went well in excess of what we needed to. So we had a lot of good data on what was actually under the surface, because we are going to be going down deep. This is not going to be near the surface. We'll be as much as 15 or more feet below below the bottom of the channel out in the center line. So we're going to be fairly deep and not intending to disturb any seagrasses. So finally, yeah, exactly. It prevents us from being in the way of any future dredging that might be done if the Army Corps of Engineers would decide to, make the channel a little bit deeper or widen it. We want to make sure that we're well below any boat anchors, any other activity that may take place there. The crossing we marked on both sides, but you just want to make sure you're well below, and you don't interfere with the root system for any of the seagrasses that grow. And when you get close to the shore, the mangroves, things like that, or bulkheads. And
Just interested. I just think it's cool.
Mhm.
So I have questions.
so more recently, I think it was in the last few months, you approved the actual horizontal directional drilling, or HDD, or boring under the intercoastal. We had gone out for bid twice. That was the second bid. The first bid came back and we were not comfortable with the pricing and the details of that, which set the project back a little bit, because we went out for bid again and got something that we thought was much more acceptable. And that's something that you all approved recently. This slide just gives you a quick overview of all the different entities that we had to go in front of or submit the applications to. So the Florida DEP, we worked with them on the sovereign submerged lands easement, the environmental resource permit, and a standard utility permit. U.S. Coast Guard was a little bit easier. It was just a courtesy notification. The Army Corps of Engineers, civil works permits, what we call the nationwide permit 57, and the consent to easement. And then finally, Palm Beach County, a letter of notification. All of these permits have been received. They're in hand. We had some minor clarifications in the last couple of weeks that went well, and no major issues in front of us. In terms of the overall schedule, this is boiled down from a rather detailed Gantt chart, or a project chart, Microsoft project chart, which we use for major projects like this. We're essentially winding down the pre-work session. When the pre-work included all of the submittals, approvals, the procurement process, public information, survey work, and the notice to proceed. So the public information part we're covering today. The city's public information officer has been working with us to prepare information which can go out to the general population. And there's an additional seagrass survey that would need to be performed 30 days prior to actually any disturbance of the riverbed or the waterway bed. So assuming that we have a consensus tonight to go ahead and start, that would probably start in the next week or so. They'll get that seagrass survey going, and then we'd be clear to start construction after that. The construction period is a minimum of or is planned at about 45 days. That's not 45 calendar days, that's 45 work days, working a 5-day week. And we're going to get into a little bit more detail on what that entails. But at a high level, it's what we call the pilot bore, reaming that bore wider, the swab pass, fusing the pipe. So HDPE is the type of plastic pipe or conduit that we're going to use that's going to be pulled through the hole that we'll bore. And that will be actually fused together, or basically glued together. So we'll have to string up to 800-foot sections at a time. And we'll get into a little bit more detail in the next few slides. And then that will be pulled through the hole. The next 800 feet will be glued to the first 800 feet. That'll be pulled, and it's a succession of pulls all the way through until it pops That's a good question. I don't know that there's much to see because it'll be dark, but but you'll see it from me. You'll see it from me that it'll be, yeah, it's dark down here. Yeah. Well, no, but the work will be happening during daylight hours, not overnight. And then there's a pullback and a restoration. And then there's project closeout where we do the final restoration because we'll get into this is going to affect areas of Bryant Park and about 80 spots over in the parking lot at the beach. So we'll get into the details of what that restoration will look like. That project closeout will be about 16 days to cover the walkthrough, full restoration to the prior condition, and then removal of all equipment and the final closeout on the punch list.
I think Mimi May would be willing to walk through. She's pretty adventurous.
It's about a 32-inch hole. I'm told 32 to 36-inch hole, which will be all the way across, over 3,000 feet. Maybe a James Bond movie, you go through in a little cart on a rail or something. We could shine a light and run it down on a laser. So we're looking at, assuming we get started on the seagrass survey as early as next week, get the contractor the notice to proceed, then we're probably looking at being complete around November 20th. And we've picked this time of year because it has the least amount of impact on activities that might be happening in this section of Bryant Park, which we'll get to in a second, or in the beach. And we can work around some of the stuff that's going to be happening with Public Works or Public Services on some of the work they're doing up at the beach.
I have two lights on. I have Ms. Malega and Mr. McBoy.
I have a question. You just said November 20th, but this walkout sheet says October 20th. Big difference.
There's a question as to the seagrass survey.
No, there is a big difference because November 20th is season. And October 20th is before season. So it says one thing here and you just now target it 30 days later.
I'll explain that. There's a question as to what's called the seagrass survey. The current requirements are to complete a seagrass survey 30 days prior to the start of construction. We have already completed a seagrass survey. We need an interpretation from our engineers if we need to do it again because it was done some time ago, or if it needs to be done proximate to the start of construction. So we need that clarification, which we'll have in the next few days. Our presumption right now, I'm leaning towards saying we need to do it again to make sure there's no issue, and then we go forward. That would take up to 30 days, which would put us closer to about a November 20th finish time.
Okay, that makes me very uncomfortable because I know that when we talked about this, we talked about having this done well before season. And I'm looking at the parking and everything that's being taken up at the beach. And I understand this has to be done, but I know that we have tenants at the beach and we have people who expect to be able to gain access to Bryant Park and to the ocean. I'm a little dismayed that we couldn't have gotten this done during the summer, but I'm even more dismayed if it's going to be going into November.
Well, a couple of things.
Bad storms, or a couple bad days, and now all of a sudden November 20th is now turned into December 1.
Couple of things. We thought it was imprudent to go ahead with the bids that we had at the time, so we set the project back. The second thing is that there's some float in this schedule. And for example, we can take a look at each aspect of it. I would expect that we could probably be out of the parking lot quicker than we could be out of the park. For example, at the parking lot, we're going to pull the pipe back into the parking lot in this yellow section or orange section and into a pit. And then as soon as that's done, we're going to backfill it and pave it over and get out of the way. We're going to come back later in time, months down the road, to do the final cable pull, probably into next spring sometime after the season, and to do other work that has to be done on land. So the goal would be to be out of these 80 spots long before November 20th. So as soon as we can, backfill the hole, pave it over, restripe it, turn it back over to the rec side of the house so they can resume parking.
I would just ask to get updates on that because I know that our phones are going to be ringing and we're going to get emails in regards to why did the city do this now. So if you could just keep us abreast of the process and progress. Thank you.
When we look at this schedule overall, recognizing that, let's say there's probably 60 to 90 day window that we need to fit in, it's hard to find that 60 to 90 day window when we don't interfere with something. So season is different. Everything is different. 4th of July, little scream, other activities in the park. So we have to maneuver on everything. And as we said, we really didn't want to proceed with that result of the first bid. So we took extra time to go out and rebid that job. So the other part of it,
A quick
Commissioner
question,
McCoy, and then Mr. Segridge.
quick question to follow. Very appreciative that you're paying attention to the seagrass situation, and I imagine it's probably a permit condition also, but I'm puzzled by it because my understanding is the bore's start will be on land, not in the water, and you're going down and across. So I don't know who's worried about seagrass, but you're nowhere near seagrass.
How deep are those roots?
And
Correct.
that deep.
they're probably 6 inches to a foot. Yeah.
At best.
So I'm presuming I'm not an expert.
Permission.
I'll speculate.
But
Yeah,
you're not going to cause that much trouble to the seagrass.
Okay.
I don't think so either. I agree with you, sir. I suspect it's more of a precaution to be able to document the pre and post condition should there be any effect on seagrass, but we are going deep.
You'll
I
find
would-
out.
I
Yeah.
would push them a little bit, see if, and especially in relation to the season thing, and given that you're going to be way below it, ask them whether you could use the other one.
Mhm.
That would be my thought.
Mr. Segridge?
Thank you. So looking at the locations of the bore pits on either side, so
Yes.
specifically looking at Bryant Park, with the open spaces master plan, there's a lot of changes that were in that, or thoughts about Bryant Park. Also, the pier that we just renovated, there's also been discussions and ideas thrown around about extending that pier out of 45 to the south, which would make it heading towards that cable. Is this or conduit? Is this conduit going to prevent us from doing any of that stuff in the open spaces master plan or expanding that pier in that direction?
I don't anticipate that it would. And these documents, the permit applications were all made available, made public. Everybody is aware of where they are. You're talking about the offshore pier?
The pier in Bryant Park.
Very top of the
Yeah,
image.
yeah. I don't anticipate that that's going to have any impact at all on where the actual bore pit will be.
But the underground conduit, if that pier was slated to come out at a 45 to the south, would they have to stop short of that?
I don't think so. We're towards the south end of the park. I think we're pretty far away. We're south of the pumping station,
Way south. Way
of the
south.
lift station.
And you're maybe 3 feet wide, so if you need to put pilings that go down, you go a couple like.
Yeah, we could
feet either
straddle it.
side.
Which
It
would
won't-
actually protect it more, but no, I don't think we're anywhere near where the pier might be. You're talking about the pier by the boat ramps, or
It's the pier by the road.
It's-
It's right at the top, but there
the-
were thoughts and ideas and some discussion about extending that pier, not as it exists now, but coming out at a 45 to the south, because that was the one area that didn't have a large concentration of seagrass where we could extend it to do different things. And we had talked about that as part of the open spaces master plan. Also, if there was any kind of construction in that area of the park, is it deep enough that it wouldn't be affected? So like if they were looking at moving a playground there or doing a pavilion or something, would that preclude us from doing that?
let me use a lifeline with my engineering team and my assistant director of engineering, David Martinuk, on this. I believe these plans have all been shared with the group that's working on this master plan. It's all in the Army Corps of Engineers submittals. Every submittal we've had shows the depths and locations and everything where we're going to be.
No, I understand it's been shared, but I don't know necessarily that they're all thinking about some of the future plans, and they may change. And so I'm saying, putting it right there, which is smack in the middle of that park, does that make that a no-go zone for any kind of improvements?
David Martinuk, Assistant Director of Engineering, City of Liquid Beach. We did coordinate with Public Works on the gazebo or pavilion type stuff. So everything was kind of spaced to avoid those areas. We're also concrete encasing the trenched area from the pole box where the bore pit's going to be. There will be a pole box that will be surfaced. So all of that will be protected from external damage. It will be a no-go zone, if you will, if you wanted to build on top of it. We could always move it. There's a cost associated with that, but it can be moved and respliced if necessary.
Okay, and then what about on the other side? We've seen numerous ideas and plans thrown out for the beach, and some of them include condensing parking and increasing the green space there. Would that location also prevent a structure from being constructed there?
Well, certainly you couldn't put a piling through it. You could build something over. I've seen that happen in certain cases. But you would have to straddle it or work around it. And that's correct. Now the bore pit itself, where the splice box will be, that will be backfilled and will become a parking spot again. So it'll be underground. So we're not losing any parking spaces, but it's
not worried about the current use, a future use. Like if there was some sort of project design that had a multi-level parking there, which reclaimed more green space or allowed more park space, would something like that become a challenge? Because it seems like it's smack in the middle.
It certainly could. Whatever would come in the future would have to be designed around it.
About how big is the paved area? It's not very big. I mean, it's a wiring pit, and
It's about the width of a car parking spot. Would you say about 8 by 10 box?
I believe it's like a 10 by 7 or something like that.
Yeah,
9 by 7.
It's not huge.
It's so far south of that little pier. Even if we went south from that little pier, then whatever you call it.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking, where are we putting constraints for the future?
Worst case scenario, the hard part is the bore, the placement or the bore pits, that all of that can be dug and moved. So if we ever had to shift it or go deeper, we can. The splices are pretty reliable in underground systems. They are a failure point, but they're pretty reliable in general. So, we can move and shift that as needed.
And was there a particular challenge or reason why it wouldn't have been closer to the bridge itself?
Well, you get closer to the smaller islands that are there, which are protected, and the existing cables. We wanted to stay well away from those. We wanted to stay away from any work which may happen with the bridge in the future, should they decide to make the bridge wider or do something with it. So we wanted to be further away from it. There's also the implications on land in terms of getting the power to the point where it's going to begin its journey across, and how you route those circuits. So you have to be able to weave your way through the most active part of the park along the roadway and across the Gulfstream Hotel in that whole area to get out closer to the bridge. So the thinking, as I understand it, was to get further away from that and more closely aligned with the power supply source on land, which is coming off of, is it First or Second Avenue South? So where's the power supply coming to before it actually enters?
Where do you plug it in?
On the mainland side.
Exactly. Where do you plug it in?
It's right by the Gulfstream Hotel. So that's one feed. And then the other goes around by, was it South Palmway or whatever that last road is there? So there's two circuit feeds. We're actually placing an auto transfer switch. So it'll have a dual feed circuit for redundancy to the beach.
Cool.
If we ever need it.
Thank you.
No,
I'm asking Mr. Segich if he's finished.
No, I just, my last thought on it, to me, it might have made more sense to just have it on the edge of the property versus right in the middle. So if there was a feed coming on the South Way or Fifth Avenue South right there, going over to the bottom south end of our beach casino complex.
The placement of the bores was also done logistically. So the space that's needed to actually do the drilling and pull the conduit is massive. And if you guys get a chance to see it when it does happen, it takes a lot of space. So there's a hill at the beach. We obviously can't go on the top. We would have to take that whole top space. So the only logical place on the beach side was in the parking lot. If we go too close to the road, you're dealing with logistics issues there. So we kind of have to place it in a place where you can fit everything and still allow for traffic flow. On the Bryant Park side, that was again conduit placement. We have to run hundreds of feet of conduit to make it effective. Otherwise, they have to fuse shorter pieces. That takes longer. It costs more. And what happens when they do the fusing is they cause what they call it beating. And so they have to either do a debeating process, which is a lot of companies don't do that, or they try to avoid it. And even on this project, they upsize the conduit to avoid debeating the fuses that they do have to do, just because it costs so much and it's so much effort to make sure that the conduit's perfectly smooth in there and it won't cut the cable when it's pulled.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of considerations on top of
So what
the
will
beautification side.
what will actually be happening then logistically is the drilling will take place from the beach headed west.
Oh.
So, right,
So where does all the dirt go?
it's
Most of it will be piled up temporarily, and then they'll actually backfill most of it. So there's very little dirt removal that's required. There'll be a little more on this because of the size of the ream itself. But most
So
of
the conduit's going to be heavy, dirty?
so yeah. So what will happen there is start with the drilling the hole. So the hole will be drilled from the beach parking lot to the mainland, and then it'll be reamed wider. And then from there, there'll be 3 conduits which will be pulled back. There'll be 2 of them that'll be 10-inch. They're intended for power. And there'll be a third one, which will be 8-inch, which is intended for future communications. So either for our own purposes or to sell that space for communication companies that are looking to pull fiber communications back and forth from the beach. So it would be a shame not to put that in while we were drilling
Or
anyway.
that oft spoken about, but yet to be seen wave power.
Well, yeah, it could be there. So what will happen is of the 2 10-inch conduits, one of them will carry the new cable to supply the beach. The other will remain empty as a spare. And we've already bought the cable for these, by the way, which we can then pull the spare cable through if we ever had a failure of the primary cable. If Ocean Current Energy were to become reality, certainly we would have that pathway, but it gives us the ability that if we did have a cable failure or a reason to need more power for services at the beach, we could certainly pull an extra phase in or an extra cable in and have more than enough power, the ability to swap back and forth.
Ms. Malega has a question.
Thank you. I have to say that I agree with Commissioner Segrich. And when I look at that big space up there, I'm often asking myself, why can't we get closer to the pump house? We already have that property there. And I don't know why, if we're going to do this, why would we do it in the middle of a green space, especially when you say 10 feet? 10 feet by 7, is that what you said?
But that's after the work.
for the box itself, yes.
10 feet by 7 to be in the middle of a green space. I personally would be in favor of supporting Mr. Segrich and saying, the closer we could get to the property we already have that's not being used, like that pump house that's next to it, would make more sense to me.
Well, so this design's done, the contractor's under contract. So at this point, redesign includes re-permitting, resurveying and all of that.
And
So I just want to be aware.
Frustration that I don't often say, I wish we would have seen this way beforehand. Just like when we talked about the timeline, I know that when we talked about it, because we did approve some of the project already, that we talked about a faster timeline. This was not presented to us back then. I don't remember seeing this. I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but to me, I would have advocated as well for not a 10-foot by 7-foot concrete pad to be in the middle of a potential green space. I mean, I don't want to spend more money and more time. I just think that this is when I wish there was more collaboration for thinking for the future of the city than just let's get it done.
Well, to clarify, there is not going to be a 10 by 7 concrete pad. This will be underground. It'll be green over the top.
You just said it was going to be surface level.
As far as the box, I'd have to confirm on the drawings. I believe the intent was to cover it, but I'd have to verify.
Because surface level to me is a concrete pad on the surface, but if it's going to be under and there's going to be stuff on top of it.
We'll recheck that, but my understanding is in the parking lot, it's going to be at the surface, right?
But here on the green.
I believe it's going to be underground. I'm not sure that I don't recall there being any concrete pad exposed, but we could.
If not,
Recheck
that's a relatively simple.
That could be lowered.
That's my,
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that, whatever it is not taking part of the only green space that we have there. That's why when you said 10 by 7, I was like, well, that's a big pad of concrete in the middle of a green space where kids play.
I believe that one's buried, but
You could double check on that and just send us all an email. That'd be great.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
And just to reiterate, there's other considerations besides the actual construction workspace. There's sovereign submerged land, so there's restrictions on where you can go off land and under land. There's also that seawall. So they have to go pretty steep at first just to get under the seawall. There was considerations with the boat and the pier because it does go at a slight angle. You can't really tell from this image, but it does kind of go in like a northeastern type flow to the beach. It's not straight across. So there's a lot of considerations at the angle and all of that.
And the smaller islands, which are on the east side of the
Yeah.
crossing.
Like I said, my concern was a big cement square in the middle of the green space.
We can make that
surface
disappear for
level.
sure. Yes, that's not a problem.
Mr. McBoy and then Mr. Sigrid.
And I would just say that while we all have received recently our engineering degrees and our land use degrees, so we are fully available to you to advise on these things. I would say doing this kind of thing has all sorts of constraints on it. And I think they've probably optimized pretty good. Could you optimize it a little bit more? Sure, if you want to pay a lot for a zigzaggy course or something like that. We want to get better power to the beach. I think we're all agreed to that. It's an engineering project. It's going to have some things. It's not going to be ideal for everybody. I would agree that my guess would be that if you need to keep the box at the Bryant Park and below surface, even if that isn't the current design, that's relatively easy to deal with. So, and from a regular user of that open space in the park, 7 by 10, I'll put my yoga mat on top of it. It'll be okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Sigrid, and then we have a public comment.
So it's the one on the beach. It's intended for it to be a structure, a 7 by 10 structure in the parking lot.
It's a 20-ton rated cover.
Below
So
surface.
traffic rated cover.
Okay,
It's
so
not a building.
they're all below the surface.
Yeah, we'll be parking on top of it again.
Box itself will be.
Understood.
You will
Okay.
see the lid. That'll be for easy access and
The
pulling.
electric cars charge like that.
And magnetic. So what will happen then is at a later date, we will come back outside of season and then dig a trench from that box because figure that the conduit will be stubbed up, buried in this box. We will then dig a trench from there up the hill where the actual transformer will be because we're going to bring 26 kV, 26,000 volt power. It's currently 4 kV out to the beach. We're going to be bringing 26,000 out. So we'll dig a trench for that conductor eventually to be laid in the trench, probably in concrete under the surface. So you don't even know it's there. And then there'll be a transformer pad. So the connections will come up into the transformer underground, step down to 4,000 volts, come out of there underground and tie into the rest of the existing 4,000 volt distribution system at the beach to the various establishments where there are then again smaller transformers to step it down further for those smaller buildings, those other operations. So it'll become part of that system. But you won't see anything other than, I believe, one 26 to 4 kV step down transformer on a pad at the beach, which is quite common all over town in our commercial establishments, commercial areas where you'll see these step down transformers on pads. Everything else will be hidden from view underground, grass over the top, back to green space. Or in the case of where the box will be in the parking lot, it'll be a paved over parking spot.
Anyway, no, I see no legs. Ms. Fisher? Mr. Perry will be before or after Ms. Fisher? Okay.
And by the way, well, as they're getting ready to speak, we'll also restore, of course, the park back to the way it was before we started work there.
Thank you.
Peggy Fisher, 508 North A Street. Sitting here listening to the questions to the electric utility engineer, the director, and everything, it takes me back to many other times during meetings where you all got too far along trying to direct staff who you've hired to do these operations. They have the expertise. That's why you hired them. And I just wanted to remind you to depend on your staff that you have hired and praise and think very confidently. So I just want to ask or say as a resident, sometimes we get too far down a rabbit hole of redesigning what comes before the commission when it would benefit everyone to just get information that then is shared with the public rather than try and redesign, remove and everything else, because I think our staff has a lot more information about the specifics than is being provided right here about all the things that have to be addressed under the intracoastal, anything like that. And I just wanted to encourage you all to remember that. Thank you.
Mr. Perry.
Yes, Madam Mayor, just wanted to just make the commission aware that we are working with our communications team, Leisure Services, the works, because we have several different projects going on over there. We're doing the lifeguard stations and whatever case may. So we're definitely going to have to take a look at the parking. We have Labor Day coming up, those types of holidays. So we're still trying to work through the process of making sure we have enough available parking over there. So I just want you to be aware of that. There will be some challenges trying to make this work. So I just thought it was important that the commission is aware.
So that's a very good point. I'll add to that when we can get to that part, but thank you for bringing that up. We are planning, if we have weekends, for example, that where we think the parking lot's going to be full and we've lost 80 spots, is running shuttles back and forth at no cost to the people that might want to use those shuttles. So we don't want to have a situation where we've used 80 spots during this period of time and then people can't go to the beach because those 80 spots are missing. We'll have shuttles that bring them back and forth. So we're working with the other departments in the city that decide, well, where will that parking take place and which days will the shuttles be available, what hours of the day, to make sure that we don't create a problem.
And how will people know there's a shuttle?
We're going to get all of that information out. We're working on the communications plan as well. How will they know? Where do you pick up the shuttle? What hours will it run? Will it run every 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever that is? It'd be an interesting concept, by the way, to see how shuttles work back and forth to the beach and where we want to stage that. Where do we want those folks to park? Will it be here at City Hall on a weekend, for example, or will it be at one of the at Bohemian Garage, or what location will it be at? Because we don't want to push that parking problem into downtown, for example, onto the streets. Where do we want to do that? So there's a lot of logistics about this. I'll point out I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, you were about to say something and I started.
About to say, well, we should offer shuttles, and then you said we're offering shuttles.
So in this picture, you'll see we've outlined the areas of Bryant Park that'll be affected. Listen, in communications with staff in various departments in the city, we adjusted this to make sure that there was no loss of access to the immediate waterfront. So the public will still be able to walk along the park, along the waterfront. This particular area will be fenced off. Keep in mind that, as I mentioned, once that drill pops up and then we're going to start pulling back, the pipe will be staged. The sections of conduit, if you will, plastic, will be fused. They'll come in 40 to 60 foot lengths. They'll be fused together to as long as 800 foot and then pulled back. And the next section that's been fused of 800 foot will be fused to that section. It'll be pulled. So it's a little bit of an exercise. Exactly. Putting all the straws together so that they don't come apart and then pulling them all back through the hole. So that's an important part. Now, when all of that is done, we want to make sure that we repair the ground and make it and restore it back to where it was. We do our walkthroughs to punch out not just one department, but multiple departments go through, make sure we're all happy with it. Everybody's good. Okay, turn it over, remove all the fencing, opening it back up to the public.
It would be great if you, as this because it sounds so cool, as this project goes, take a lot of photographs so we can share them with the public to see what we're doing over there. Videos, phone, yeah.
For the time capsule, which we should have. So
Yeah, if there's something really cool, let us know, especially because we could have the kids, what is it called? The after school program
For the children.
for the children. That might be something cool to see. And then they could be like, I want to be an engineer. So anyway.
This is, the last time this was done, we assume it was just, they pulled the plow across and laid it into the ground. And I think
Dropped it over the edge. Probably.
that's what we think, right? That's not unusual for cable back then. That's probably what they did, is pull the plow and then pushed it in and backfilled it. And there it is. This will be much more sophisticated, but it also gives us room for the future. So we think that, folks who sit in these chairs 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now say, hey, we have a spare cable over there. We have a spare conduit. We have a crossing. It was permitted and it's there. And the seagrass is.
Oh, yeah, right.
How primitive. Exactly.
Luigi,
Do you need direction from us, or is this just an update?
Unless it's a significant objection, this is more of an update. We're going to continue on our pathway to move this project forward and keep you informed as we go.
Fourth.
thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Continued good luck with this. Okay, new business. Resolution 27-2026, amending the schedule of fees and charges for city services for fiscal year 2026. Who wants to start with this? I think Mr. Waters. We'll see. Who volunteers? That's all I read.
This is all thanks to the new rule, right?
Yep.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. William Waters, Community Sustainability Director. Yes, indeed. These are a variety of fees and charge changes relative to both the changes that you've made to the business tax receipt business license ordinance several weeks ago, as well as planning for Senate Bill 803 and the fact that some things are having to move and not be going through the building permit process and will be going through a dedicated zoning permit process.
I just thought about it. When we talk about what's exempt and what's not exempt, putting in windows, is that something they'll still have to get a permit for? I think,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, okay, that's one.
Anything structural related, life
That's
safety
the-
related,
yeah, okay.
will still have to get a permit.
Thank you.
So motion to approve.
I have the light on.
Oh, I can second for discussion, but I have a question.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Let's discuss. Miss May.
Thank you. Two things. One, William, I'm seeing some of the zoning review of the building permits, and then it comes over here for the zoning permit. And it's increase in fee. So can you just explain the increase? And then is this going to align with the 27 fee structure?
Yes, we are trying, per your direction, to recoup the actual delivery costs that staff provides. And so many, and the largest jump in fees in our department is with the planning and zoning preservation staff. And these will be pulled over in the FY27 schedule of fees, which you'll see, I think, in like 3 weeks or
Right,
something.
I think it's the 11th.
Yeah, so we're already going ahead and implementing what we essentially would be doing for 27 a little early
Okay,
and adding those new fees that we don't have right now.
I see. And then for the people at home, because I'm sure there's so many watching right now. The people, so the people at home, if they have a project that's $7,500 or less, what do they need to do?
They contact the building division, and there's a process outlined on the city website, and they submit, this is what we're planning to do, this is the cost. And as Mr. Schultz mentioned last night, as the building official, they review it and get back and say, yes, you don't need to you're exempt, you don't need a permit. No, you aren't, you need to get a permit.
And it will also record in their file what they have done
Yes.
or what they are planning to do.
Yes, we have a property file that is growing exponentially the more that we do. And so those are they're not online yet, but I do eventually want to have them online. So you
Okay.
can, when you click on your little property in the GIS,
Yeah.
all that related information that you could pull.
Right. And so for the people at home, the purpose of the fact that we're still going to you guys is one, you have to ask for the exemption. It's not automatic.
Right.
And two, to have it in your file that it was done. So when you go to sell your house, it's not, well, where did this come from?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I do want to address a point before I forget. And I know that came up last night that we have a little issue with Click to Gov. I was playing with it today to try to find an application that was problematic. It appears that Click to Gov does not recognize our directions at the end of the street name. And so we kept putting in today, like 16th Avenue South. It wouldn't come up. So eventually we had to pull up all of 16th Avenue and go through it. And I think I wrote that to the city manager. I don't know whether we can fix that or not, because I found it, and I found it totally annoying. Because I usually use Novaline where it does accept the direction in the right place. And I don't use Click to Gov very often, but I was just curious, but you brought it up and I'm like, oh crap, this is not great.
I have a question. Oh, Mr. Segridge, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, so in reading this, I understand the cause behind this was the $7,500 exemption. If I'm reading this right, are you creating a new type of permit called a zoning permit?
Yes.
So the state said, don't have permits, So now we're going to create a zoning permit for
The
these
state
things?
says you cannot have a building permit. What we created was a mechanism to document the zoning requirements that are still valid. And the easiest thing to not confuse people is now we have a zoning permit. We can, one should change it to zoning confirmation letter or some long drawn out thing, but we felt as staff and speaking to legal that zoning permit was the shortest, most easy thing to understand.
Okay.
Because it does not even, it never touches the building module or the building permitting process. And it's not governed by the,
Waiver permit,
a what?
like a waiver permit.
So so somebody's going to have to fill out an exemption form for building, and then they're going to have to fill out a separate form?
Well, they might, and if it's not related to the building code, which driveways aren't, fences aren't, there's not necessarily a need for an exemption. You'll file your zoning permit application, and part of that process we'll look at, because one of the things is like sheds. Well, there are sheds that are exempt from the building code. There's a point where a shed might become actually a structure, and at that point, the planning and preservation staff would know, oh, the zoning permit is applicable. However, now that the value and the size of or the structural nature of that shed is such, it now needs a building permit. So we're trying to have, check and balance within the department between the two divisions.
Okay. So it seems like we are adding another. We're taking, the state took away one form of permit and we're adding another.
Well, you always had to meet the zoning requirements as part of your
Understood.
building permit.
I understand that. So then looking at it and saying, so for fences, right? What is the zoning requirements for fencing? Are we talking about setbacks in the 30 inches?
There is a
and that?
height limitation on the fence. It's 4 feet at the front until it meets the front setback. Then it can go to 6 feet. Fences are allowed to be 8 feet along an alley. There's different requirements for commercial versus industrial. There are also
coverage.
Well, we're
So-
talking
so-
about fences, but
Yeah. So these things are like setbacks, those kind of rules.
and the materials. We do limit the materials that can be
and
used
the
for a
material.
fence. Now, walls do require a building permit. And so, because they're structural.
Okay. And so looking at the signs, just kind of questions on the fees. We still have wall mounted signs at $55 and now window signs are $100 to review it.
Where do you see them?
Exhibit A, page 1.
Yes, because we do have to do an inspection on those signs and that determining how much of the window is covered up. And I know there's something I've been asked to look at for the Business Advisory Board in regards to the 20%, 5% rule. And so there's a bit more work in doing an evaluation for a sign than you would think. And there's more than an hour. And if you do the burden rate for city staff,
Sure.
you're at $100.
So window signs are doubly as complex as wall mounted and more complex than a freestanding sign for inspections.
William, I think the difference is between just the zoning review for the permit, when the permit has to go through the
Yeah.
building module for the inspections and all those other things versus the full zoning permit.
Right. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, we have a lesser fee for the zoning review if it's accompanied by a building permit than we do if it's just a standalone zoning permit itself.
Okay. So that's because there's basically extra costs recouped inside the structure of the building permit, basically.
Yeah.
For people to understand. So realistically, people looking at this and saying, oh, I because of this new law, I'm not going to need a permit. The answer is actually, no, you actually are. You're just going to need a zoning permit, not a building permit.
Right.
And from a legal perspective, we think this is in the spirit of that new law.
We do. It's not that you'll need a zoning permit for everything that won't need a building permit, but there are things that have always required zoning compliance and those will still need zoning compliance. So this is a way to make sure that that isn't lost.
Okay, so would there also then there will also be inspections on this zoning permit? So basically nothing changes for people, for like people who were sitting there thinking, you know what, now I can fix my fence and not have to apply to the city. Nothing changes for that.
Correct. The process changes a little bit, but the amount of work we deal with it and work with it is essentially going to be the same.
So
Keep in mind, and this is something that I have been preaching since I got here. Why fences? and some driveways and other things were ever in the building permit module to begin with, which is not governed. The building code does not ever provide any guidance or direction on a fence. But because we were who we were when we took our novel line system, we processed fences as a building permit. We can ask the same question about, are we not going to require revocable permits? Because that's a permit. Or a right-of-way permit. Those are permits. And I don't like the nomenclature permit, but I have acquiesced and said, I'm raised white flag. We have lots of things that are called permits, but they're not all building permits.
Maybe we should change the name.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I heard you. I have a quick question as well. Here's my thought about this. Well, so one question. So if I get a zoning permit for my fence, do you come and actually inspect the fence? No, right? You inspect where it is, but not the structure of the fence.
No, because there is no structural requirement of fence as
That's
long
what
as
I'm
it
saying,
stands
right.
up.
Right.
We're going to be inspecting, you gave us a site plan or a survey that shows where the fence is supposed to go.
Right.
And we will go confirm that was put where it was
That's
supposed to
exactly,
be.
okay, not this, okay. So, and here's my thoughts about this, and I understand the zoning, whatever you call it, whatever you want to call it. Here's the thing, these are going to be small projects for people like, on over a weekend, I want to do something in my backyard. My question is, can we, on these zoning permits, have a very quick turnaround?
You addressed that yesterday, I think.
2 to 3 days is what we're aiming for?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Predicated, we have a checklist. You provide all the information that the checklist requires.
And is it not predicated on your reviewing
Ms. Maliga.
that it in fact does fall under the exemption? If it doesn't fall under the exemption, then it might be
Ms.
longer.
Malaga's line is on. You can put your line and ask a question. Ms. Malaga.
Follow up.
My question is, so on the fence, are we still going to require the survey?
I'm working when there's a component in the LDRs that allows the DRO, which I sit in that position, good, bad, or indifferent, to allow some adjustment to what is required that will meet the equivalent of a survey. I mentioned this last night,
Right.
that a site plan signed and sealed by somebody, an appropriate party, engineer, an architect. We do have an affidavit that the survey, if you have one, if it's old, it's accurate. We do check it, and probably 65% of the time, the survey that they attest is accurate is not. And then we go from there and figure out how to help the person out as best we can. But we do need something that demarcates the meets and bounds of the lot. It is what it is. What's covering the property in terms of impermeable surface, where the buildings are, because there are also issues that we do make people aware of. Many of our setbacks are really small. And when you put up a fence between two houses that are only 6 feet apart, you can't get your trash can through it. And we have had innumerable complaints about that. And also fire is somewhat concerned. They can't get to the back of a property. They would have to access from the back, like the alley. So we do make people aware, just be aware of things. If you decide to put a fence, which you're allowed to do, these are some things that you might encounter later.
Thank you.
Mr. McBoy?
Just to clarify, and I haven't looked at the website to see how this works, but my understanding is, all right, the state has changed things. If it's under a certain amount, the 7,500, it's a different process, but we still have a process. And the first step of it is we look at what you've written up and drawn up and proposed to do. And we say, yes, this falls under the state thing. You need to pay us the little fee to do that, which is, I don't know, $35 or something. That's pretty minor, but we will come out to look at it when it's done to make sure that it is in fact what you said it is.
Let's separate what's governed by the Florida Building Code and what is governed by our land development regulations.
Okay.
If it is fallen under the Florida Building Code, that is where that exemption confirmation comes from, Barry Schultz. And as long as it meets it, we don't come out and look at it.
Okay. So,
but fences, a lot of hardscape, accessory structures, and I think there's one other one I'm forgetting, landscaping, do not fall under the Florida Building Code. There is no exemption for that. It's a zoning confirmation.
so there's no change based on the state thing. Whatever we were doing before, we're still
We're
doing
just
now.
routing all those that are not governed by the building code directly to planning and preservation versus it going through the building division before it ever gets to planning and preservation. So there will be some time savings in that.
And,
Great, thank you. Mr.
And-
Oh, sorry.
and a deck that's not attached to the building, where does that fall under?
That's one for Barry to ascertain whether it's structural or not. Most decks are structural, and depending on the value, they would have to get a building permit or get a zoning exemption. I mean, a building code exemption confirmation.
Under 18
Meaning the
inches.
state law thing. So if it's a
And
deck
that's not my area of expertise. If you want that answered, I'll bring it back to Barry and he can help me write you an email. Because I don't want to misspeak and have it out in the world that I was
We wouldn't
wrong,
want that.
which has happened.
Thank you. Mr. Segrich?
Thank you, William, for the clarification and when I went through all this backup, I did not pick up on the fact that we were creating a new type of permit or letter or whatever we want to call it, a process. I'm a little bit uncomfortable that we're creating a new permit process without modifying our ordinances. We're just creating new fees for these things, but we haven't modified our code to tell people that you now have to follow this new process.
Well, our current code doesn't tell you that you have to get a building permit to get a fence either. It does say that you have to get approval for your fence. And part of the interpretation and implementation of the LDRs, which is under my purview, I can establish policies and such that dictate how you implement the rules of the LDRs. And so instead of it going through the building permit process, these zoning confirmations or zoning permits are now going through a direct planning and preservation division office.
Yeah, I'm still uncomfortable with that because confusion about what we do stems from the fact that a lot of things necessarily aren't spelled out clearly for our residents. I think a lot of people are going to look at this and go and just have a lot of issues. I would feel more comfortable if we would spell it out that says, your explanation is valid. These things are really zoning. They never should have been part of the building code to begin with, the building permit process to begin with. Yeah, I don't necessarily like calling it a permit either, because then people will confuse it with stuff, but I really think that just establishing it by adding new fees is not going to be received well. And I don't think people are going to understand it. I think we need to have this spelled out in an ordinance. And also to Commissioner Malega's question about the survey, I think we need to lay out what are your requirements. I understand that would be in an ordinance, right?
Well, there's a checklist already that we've created that you have for almost any kind of planning zone.
The checklist can change, and the checklist is sometimes incomplete. I've known it. I've had stuff kicked back for stuff that's not on a checklist. And there's nothing we can do. It's just something that people were asked for, and I've had a lot of feedback from residents and people trying to do stuff where they say it's kind of a death by 1,000 cuts. I filled out my checklist and now they want this, and then they reject it, and now they want something else, and now they want something else that's not on the checklist. So I for one would like to have, if we're creating a new permit process, I would like to have that spelled out so that people can read it and understand. Oh, this is why I have to do it, because I can almost guarantee the first couple of people that come in wanting to do a small fence or change a section of their fence in their front yard or add some paper, they're going to go, this is BS. State law says $7,500. I don't need a permit. And da 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 da. And once again, we'll have nowhere in our code to point to and say, actually, right here is where it draws that distinction. And you can clearly see that you do need this zoning permit or whatever we call it. I just think for the point of clarity, that's something that we should strive to do.
I don't like the word permit. It's just a confusing form. And, it says you don't need a permit. The statute says you don't need a permit, but it says a lot of other things as well. So, I mean, you can just looking at it's.
But I was just saying, I
That's what
agree
he
that
said.
I think it should be like a waiver form or something.
Something, yeah. Ms. May, and then
We are working on adding language into the code for zoning permits. That is one of the code changes that will be coming forward.
we need to get rid of that name, I think. Ms. May and. Mr.
I'm hearing what my colleagues are saying, and I think that we're putting the cart before the horse. I think that needs to come first. Then the fees change.
Then you will have the concern, I think, from staff was to make sure that these things that have always come through for zoning review through the building permit process
Still do.
will be lost in the interim. And so that will
Okay.
lead to
When does the law
code
take effect?
violations
July
down-
1st, it already did.
That will lead to code violations for people not complying with the code for these zoning related issues.
Okay, so and I know this happens a lot with things that come down from Tallahassee. So basically the rhetoric that is, we don't have to get a permit for $7,500 or less is the problem.
It's a misnomer.
That's a building code permit.
But nobody understands that. I mean, what I hear is anything that costs less than $7,500 at my house, I can do. That's what I hear. And I have been listening here for 3 years. So I think that, like, remember how much we had to teach people when we switched from the 1 bin to the 2 bins for recycling? This is bigger than that. And I really think that we need to do a lot of outreach on this. I really do. I think that this, because to Anthony's point, if the only notification we're giving is, oh, well, now there's different fees and they're twice as much and they're going to be for next year too, which is makes sense. I wouldn't say make fees and then change them for next year, which is a couple weeks away. But I do feel like, and maybe this is just us up here because we're the ones that are going to hear it. And well, you will too, but it's going to be a lot of blowback and a lot of, we don't understand. What do you mean? That's not what the thing said.
And we anticipated that because it is something fairly new. And we have worked with Rebecca to do a press release.
We
We have
that.
put things on the website.
Yeah.
We have made notices at our various advisory board meetings.
Okay.
There's a banner on the website that says, hey, this is different. There's a little flyer that we were going to try to do after last night and have it translated into both Creole and in Spanish that says, when is it needed, when it's not.
Can we have Handy Andy do a little cartoon? Handy Andy says, was it Handy Mandy with the Spanish guy? What's his name? The cartoon?
I don't know that.
I don't either.
And if it pleases you, it's not going to be that complicated for us to just say zoning confirmation because we're working on the forms now. If you don't like
or
permit-
just how about a zoning review? I mean, it's right here, a zoning review, period. The zoning review.
I think it needs to be, everybody thinks it's a waiver. I think the waiver word should be.
But it isn't
we're
a
not-
waiver.
But we're not waiving anything. We're actually implementing the requirements of the LDRs by you have to have
You're basically still
approval.
paying for a permit.
You have to have approval for your fence. Where is it going to be and how big is it and what is it made of?
Right. And it makes sense because it needs to be logged somewhere that there is a fence on that property.
Yeah, that could.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a problem with just deleting permit or just saying, or having zoning confirmation review, whichever is your pleasure. And that
Zoning
is-
confirmation letter. Boom.
Letter is much softer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Zoning-
And it's kind of what it is, isn't it?
we'd have to change the format so it looks like a letter when it gets issued because it looks like a permit now. And that isn't, I'll deal with that.
Okay. So is there anything that this law changes that one could do at their property without coming to you first?
Well, depending on how much like siding you replace, which is not structural, if you're replacing parts of a fence, like there's a limitation in our code, I think it's 16 feet. There are a number of items that could be exempted. I think the bigger problem we're going to have is that you don't get exemption at all if you're in a flood zone, the ones that Barry described last night versus the ones that aren't. So everybody that's basically east of Federal Highway, you're sort of out of luck.
Is that map on?
Mhm.
Because there are different flood zones, like we were talking about last
Right.
night. There's a flood zone that stops halfway down my street.
Right.
You know, so like if you live at this house, you have to, this house, you don't. And which is probably why Palm Beach County said, screw it.
Yeah.
We're just keeping
And
everything how it
we
is.
also have the problem where the flood zone itself line goes through the middle of a property. And if it does, then your house has to meet the worst case
The
scenario.
water is going to stop right there.
Yeah, magically.
It knows.
It knows halfway down Yale, it's just going to stop.
But I would at request that since it's just started, there are going to be some kinks. We're going to work through them as best
Okay.
we can.
Yeah.
We'll apprise you of how the process is going. So far, it's
Good.
gone pretty well. But we do need, and we, like Elizabeth mentioned, we'll add the zoning confirmation letter somewhere. I don't really know what section it'll be in LVRs. Probably under administration section, I guess, or general provisions, but we'll figure out some place to put it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. McBoy, and then Mr. Segridge.
I'm hearing a couple things. I agree with the suggestion of my colleagues. Let's give it a different name than permit and figure out, and the letter name strikes me as pretty good, but you may have better ideas. I don't know. The other thing is, I think I'd probably speak for some of my colleagues when I say that, as you mentioned, well, if it's this, then it's building, but if it's that, then it's actually not structural. There's a certain amount of glazing over that happens here. And if it happens to us, it guarantees happening to residents. And what I was thinking, would it be possible to have essentially, and I would do it as an online thing, a tool, which is basically a flow chart. Do you live east of whatever, or whatever the demarcation for the line? Okay, then you're in this category. The 7,500 state law doesn't apply to you at all. Everything stays the same as whatever it was before. If you don't, now you're in the 7,500 category. Are you doing, and then make it oriented to what a user thinks about, forget about the building codes or this or that. Are you doing a fence? Are you doing a deck?
And
Are you
that's
doing
what Barry's checklist is, and we can
but make it
enhance
as a thing where you work your way through it. Are you a deck? Are you
We'll have to see what the webmaster can do. I don't want to promise something I can't deliver because I don't do the web. That's done by
but I
somebody
think
else.
it would, you could, I mean, it would have some steps, and maybe you give people an option. Look, you can either work your way through it this way, or you can go read the state code and read our code and
Or
try
you
to
can give
figure it
staff a
out.
call
What's that?
Or give staff a call.
or an email.
And maybe that's fine. I'm looking for a way to avoid your phone ringing off the wall.
It's
And
gonna
help
happen anyway.
at least initially screen. That would be my thought.
Okay, Mr. Segridge, Mr. Segridge?
Number one, I would fully support Mr. McBoy's suggestion. I would fully support your suggestion. From a technical standpoint, if our webmaster can't do it, we can find somebody who can.
Yeah.
Creating an upfront wizard that just will drop them in the right spot. We don't have to get ultra fancy with it and integrate and everything, but I absolutely think we do need a wizard, a walkthrough.
That's a good word, yeah.
And that is something that we can do. So I would ask consensus of my colleagues to give direction to staff to implement the HB 803 wizard. I did. Yes, I know about Andy. Yeah. No, but that something like that could be incorporated in.
Don't forget the city already has Mango Man and another logo guy that we already have trademarked.
Man should be out there going tree, no fence, yes.
I would ask consensus for that.
But to have it on the,
Create a wizard on the website to navigate people through this and drop them in the right spot.
And sorry.
I think that alone will also help handle some of the other situations of, do I need historic approval? Do I not need historical? There's probably 5 or 10 questions that your staff asks people right away when they call in, and we could guide them and just drop them in the right spot.
be
So-
lovely if we could do it, yeah.
Yeah. So the other question is, so this new but not new permit, we'll call it for now, this only comes into play when they're going for an HB 803 exemption. Is that correct?
No, I saw this as a way to pull, again, items that are not governed by the Florida Building Code, such as fence.
Yep.
If 803 had never happened and I had my way 14 years ago, this process would have already been set.
This is how you would have done and understood. But Mr. McVoy does raise a good point. Even people who are fairly knowledgeable about it get confused as to which input do I have to do? When I want to build something on my property, I think I need a building permit. Now, it's kind of like the same discussion with code compliance, where everyone says, oh, it's code. Well, actually, that's the building department, and that's actually the zoning department. And Yolanda educates us on that. And I know Barry has said it a lot, where it's not me, it's planning and zoning. It's this, right? You know, especially around like fences. The general public doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
And I don't think we should assume that they do, or any amount of education is going to change that. It's not. We can do all the outreach in the world, and we're still going to get people confused about it. And that's why I like the wizard approach.
Yeah.
I think it's an opportunity, because if they do have to apply for the HB 803 exemption, at that point, when they go through that, the answer they get back says, you're exempt from this. However, you need X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
Right.
And that this isn't its own little entity. It's really kind of that upfront.
Carve out.
Yeah. And so explaining it in the code to people, I think they'll understand it better through that, you're submitting a building permit. Because I don't know for how many years, you said 14, we've been doing it that way, and it might not be ideal, but yeah. Yeah, but,
Over 20.
yeah, and it may not be ideal, right? But that's the name we got, right? We got building permit. So we allow them to submit through that process, and then it routes them to, you need the exemption, you need this, you need this, you need that. I just think by introducing this, we're going to increase our problems if we don't do it. And we can use this as an opportunity to correct some of the upfront intake issues that we have, because, I totally understand the fees. I'm in support of this. I think we just need it, one, spelled out in the code, and two, an upfront wizard process that drops people in the right spot or gives them the right checklist to avoid confusion.
So do you want me to change my motion to approval based upon our conditions?
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that.
I'm sorry, I'm very sorry to interrupt. So will the motion supersede the consensus, or will it incorporate the consensus? Because I didn't hear consensus from everybody.
Well, we had a motion and a second for conversation.
Yeah.
So we had,
Yes, I have that.
I had a
Then
consensus
Commissioner
item.
Segridge asked for consensus regarding the wizard,
yeah, we gave
and then we
consensus.
went off on something else, and as you know.
She's
we're
asking for the
track
count
of that.
for consensus.
Yes.
What to do?
For clarity, it would help us if your motion includes approval of the
Fees.
schedule of fees and changes, removing the word permit. We'll just call it zoning confirmation review for right now. The creation of a wizard that steps you through the process, and then bring forward at the earliest possible date, which is probably not going to be until September. Oh, shoot, it couldn't be September because it's got to go before the two boards. An amendment, some amendments to the LDRs to have this be codified in code.
What he just said.
All in favor?
And
Aye.
vote for what he
Aye.
just said.
Because I'm not going
Aye.
to say.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have public comment. I'm
Oh,
Ms. Fisher?
sorry.
Sorry about that. I apologize. That's Sarah's fault. Mea culpa, mea culpa. Thank you.
Peggy Fisher, 508 North A Street. I'm just going to pretend like I'm not sitting here and I'm watching this online and listening to this discussion, and I'm getting ready to put a fence on my backyard. So on one hand, there's this new HB 803, whatever, that says you don't need a permit. But the city is going to say you need a zoning permit, confirmation letter, whatever. And none of you have talked about, okay, if you were to get a fence, you'd pay X for this building permit that we don't really need to get. But now we're going to get a zoning permit, and are we going to pay X plus Z or X plus C? Oh, I don't see it clearly laid out. Are the fees associated with getting a fence if you were under how it was operating before this rule ever came up, going to be the same now that it's being changed? Because people look at what comes out of their pocket. And I'm not hearing any clarification on that. And I think that's a big thing for people, especially if what I'm hearing is, well, it's going to have to go through a different procedure and it's going to have to go through this review. And therefore, to cover all our costs, it's going to be Z, which is more than X. And people are going to be going, excuse me, the city's taking something that was passed to benefit residents in the state and are now making more money off of this. And I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just saying, as a person sitting watching this online, that would be my read. And it's stuff that's already circulating on social media.
Thank you, that's time.
You have to address it.
Thank you, Mr. Hitchcock. No,
Segrich?
no, Hitchcock. I got another thing. I see the light on, but we've actually already voted.
Wade Hitchcock at 1506. While you're on this subject, there's something I need to know because I'm already lost. I got a neighbor, chain link fence, garbage is coming through the fence. I want to put up a regular fence. But now if you do that, you're kind of on her property because every fence line's in just a little. So you can't really leave a gap and let everything just grow and nothing get done with it. Are you allowed to put another fence next to her fence to protect your grounds on your property? And do you need to pull the permit? Okay, so I got to pull a permit if I want to do it.
Zoning permit.
This is while you're on this subject. Because I'm
Right,
lost.
We don't really, all right.
Well,
I'll go to his office. I just need to know.
you'll need a zoning confirmation, whatever we're going to call it, to put up a fence. And there are people who have fences that are butted up against each other because one person has one taste of fence and the other person has a different style of fence they like.
Well, this was way back 30 years ago. Chain link fence, 4 feet. Everything's growing into my nice groomed yard, and I'm trying to prevent her rodents and everything coming over.
You should, but you should, but as long as it's in the setbacks and all that, I think it's the.
So I can put up a fence next to her fence. All right, that's trying to get an idea.
Mr. Segrich?
I just wanted to clarify because I did think I read it this way. So taking the fence example and the payments. Previously, I would submit my building permit. It was based on a percentage calculation. I forget exactly what we.
It was usually the minimum building permit fee
Right.
because the fences didn't exceed a certain amount. And that was, I think, $115, which we're now raising to $135 for FY27.
All right. So now the fence will be 150, which is basically a small raise.
Well, you did, in doing a fence under the old way, you paid a processing fee, a building permit fee, and a zoning confirmation fee. So it should be a little bit less
Okay.
for a fence than it is now.
So the answer to the question is it's actually streamlining that. It's going to be
There are
less.
fewer charges.
Okay.
Yeah,
And they're clearer now here too, because it's just in one spot.
clear as mud. Okay, so we did, Madam Clerk, did you understand that we voted?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I just want to make sure because we did.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll be back for clarification in a couple months.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. Okay, next up is the agreement with Brightview Maintenance for golf course maintenance services for the Lakewood Beach Golf Course Club. Golf Club.
Good evening, Stuart Sword, Leisure Services Director. So the current contract for wraparound ground maintenance services ends on August 17th. So staff, big shout out to Finance Procurement, did a phenomenal job with the RFP process. We had 4 respondents total. I'd like to thank those 4 respondents. They submitted very deep and impressive proposals to the city. A selection committee convened on June 24th. Consisting of 3 city staff supervised by procurement, and they evaluated all 4 of those respondents. Staff landed on Brightview, and Brightview is the current provider for the landscaping services. If there are any questions, that concludes my
Your
comments.
presentation.
Motion to approve.
Madam Clerk, are there any comments?
Second.
No, Madam Mayor, I have one comment on the next item and
On the
that's
next
it for
one, okay,
tonight.
yeah. Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
It's funny, the guys are the ones who golf.
Do what's that?
The guys are the ones who.
Because they're
I don't golf.
golfers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is C, Royal Poinciana Park Improvement Option Selection. Leisure Services, there you go.
Yes, good evening, Stuart Sword again, Leisure Services, also accompanied by Chris Hanna, the Park Superintendent. We've got a presentation that's coming up. This is the same presentation that was presented to Royal Poinciana on June 17th, 7 p.m. in the Bohemian Building. In attendance was Commissioner Malega, as well as the Royal Poinciana Neighborhood President, Ms. Bunny, and 8 representatives of that neighborhood. The outreach continued after that meeting to query the neighborhood, what would be of interest. The skate park received 1 input vote selection, and option number 2, which I'll cover shortly, received all the other input selections from the community. I'm going to just guide us through this presentation briefly, and then that'll conclude the presentation. So this park was upgraded back on October 1st, 2021, approximately 5 years ago. In the budget for this year and in fiscal year 26, it is a capital improvement project funded out of the general fund with bonded money in the sum of $180,000 and $500. Again, this was presented approximately a month ago, referencing some of our source documents, our adopted open space recreation master plan. This is page 130 and page 131. Address is 32 South B Street. The next slide shows the condition that was annotated by Chinmore Associates, receiving a 1 ranking on the left-hand side of the screen is poor condition, and it's noted as unusable. I'll continue on and you'll see why it received that type of ranking. So original conditions approximately 5 years ago. You can note the fence and note the color of the futsal court. The futsal court was beautiful, received a lot of use, a lot of demand, and you'll see the result of that here shortly. Notice the fence is completely gone and or replaced. It's been replaced by a wooden structure all the way around. The playground that's currently there is rated for ages 2 to 5. You can look at the size of it and just tell it's lower to the ground. That's not being removed. That's going to remain under this capital improvement project. The spinner and the rock climber, which is also ages 2 to 5, will remain. It's to the west of that park. So the area we're talking about, it's to the north. The area we're talking about improvement is to the south. We submitted, staff put together pretty much 4 different design options, all kind of distinctly different based off age groups and the functionality of it. The first was a skate park. The skate park did receive 1 essentially input selection from the community. Just another vantage point of the skate park. Option 2, this was the selected park by the community based off the age 2 to 5 and 5 to 12. It also comes with an expression swing, which is distinct, and it does have the largest shade canopy, and the color scheme is consistent with Royal Poinciana. Just another vantage point of that area. Option number 3, I would say this was second place, if you will, but it does have a smaller shade canopy. It does include the same age brackets. Just another advantage of it. It does include the swings, but the shade, and a lot of the community was very interested in the artificial and the natural shade. Option 4, a distinctly different option. Note it's 5 to 12, not 2 to 5 as well. So we're kind of expanding the age range of that park. And this is the community input that the community filled out. That should be in the backup. You'll see quite a few comments there for option number 2 and kind of why they selected that based off the color scheme, the shade, the variety for the age brackets. And Commissioner Malega, is there any questions? That concludes the presentation.
I just want to say thank you again to Chris and to staff. Ramsey and I put a lot of time and energy into getting a park for Royal Poinciana. When I say time, I mean like 8 years. So when this park was destroyed by outside people who came in and overused the futsal court, it made the community sad. I'll just leave it at that. On an average, we're picking up about, I'd say 2 huge trash cans of beer bottles every single week. So, and this is like Saturday, Sunday, like constant. So I'm glad that this is going back towards the kids. We have a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and we don't want them crossing main streets. And the community was very, very, very much in favor of option 2. They did just ask if we could get a bigger shade sail because there's not a lot of trees over around the playground. But I would like to make a motion to approve, and thank you again for taking the time and coming out to the meeting and really doing all your due diligence, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion by Ms. Malega.
I have a
Second.
public comment, Madam Mayor.
Yes, I know, and I have a card here too. We're doing the motion in a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Segrich. We have public comments from Ramsey McLeod. Please come up. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Boy, what would you like to say? Sorry.
I discussed this, I think, at two of my one-on-one meetings with staff. And my concern, knowing some of the history with the park and that a lot of good faith effort was put in on the first round and around 2021 and probably for a while before to get it to that point, to get approvals and so on. And then it didn't work out for, a variety of reasons. My concern was that we probably want to learn from that experience and go maybe extra and above beyond to make sure that we have some good, thorough way of assessing community support and also trying to create some deep level community buy-in with it so that we don't go the same thing and have, community investment and a lot of disappointment. And I pointed out that, what I know of that part of it, it's not my district, I understand that, but I do have a fair amount of familiarity with it, is it's not so easy to get that contact into the community. That is, you have a lot of people who don't necessarily interact with government all that happily, that are definitely not very likely to be involved in neighborhood associations. And so my suggestion was find some additional way to get that buy-in so that you have the community protecting whatever you do and pretty much a strong assurance that it will be in fact something that's supported. It was pointed out that all sounded good, maybe a lot of extra work, but good, but there's a time frame because the money needs to get spent by the end of the year. And I said, well, could you encumber it? And
I will
that didn't
answer
seem-
to you. I did go to Habitat Homes and that's the extra outreach that we did. We went to other homes and the people who didn't attend and we got more input than just the people who attended.
And roughly, I mean, numbers doesn't necessarily tell you, but it gives some idea. You mentioned that there were more, but I didn't hear a number really on it.
Yeah, they came in kind of sporadically since we did that meeting on June 17th. Totality, I think it was in the range of 17 to 20 total, like hard input, residents filled that form out.
I still would encourage, in the interest of protecting the investment, to do a deeper one. I think it could be done perhaps in parallel to what you're doing, and that it's not necessarily that you're looking for input on do we want this choice or that choice, but more, can we build a more solid community base so that the community itself is helping do some of the, hey guys, you can't do that, whatever it is that somebody's trying to do that might be destructive. And I recognize that that's not easy. And you might need help from some other organizations. I suggested possibly the Guatemala Maya Center might be a organization that they have a lot on their plate, and some of it is at a much more serious level, but they have very extensive reach into the community. And it's just a suggestion in terms of increasing likelihood of long-term success.
Thank you, Mr. Segrich. Oh, wait, no, yeah, Mr. Segrich. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's a shame what happened to that park, and I wouldn't term it as the park wasn't successful. I would term it as individuals were abusive to a wonderful asset that was wildly popular, actually. And it's an absolute shame. So I don't think that the original park was a failure of design or thoughtfulness. I think it was a success, but outsiders ruined it. And that is my primary concern with this. Thank you to Commissioner Malega and Ramsey and all those in the community that came together on this. And it seems like we have a cohesive design, which is a little different than the Tropical Ridge adventure we went down. So this process is a lot smoother, and I really appreciate that. Fully support it. Couple of things. if we have any money in the tree beautification budget, I would love to see a nest planting here in this park. And I think they could accomplish that very quickly, get some large shade trees in there. I also think, just as we asked for in Tropical Ridge, we reserve some budget in there for a camera that PBSO has access to. And, you know, I'm not up on the statistics of what happened in that park. It would seem as if that activity went on for that long and got that destructive, and the amount of alcohol containers you were picking up. I don't think many people were arrested in that park. And that's a shame as well, because I am sure people were made aware of it. And you know, people ask and wonder, you know, why did we think the investment in the park rangers was important? This is a great example. And you know, I'm excited to see dedicated PBSO resources to this, you know, and protect these assets. Because as we beautify these things, you know, it is up to the community to maintain them, but it's also up to us to be good stewards. And if there are bad actors, make sure that we come down on them severely, because, you know, this is a major investment in our city each time we do it. And to have to redo it and have the community suffer multiple times, it doesn't sit well with me. But I fully support it. But my asks would be for trees out of that budget. So I don't know if we have any agreement from up here on that.
Yes, tree.
And camera to aid PBSO.
Did have a camera across the street. I don't know if it's still there. At one point, I think we had to move it to another area.
Yes. But we did have a camera literally right across, and we did.
They did. PBSO had one.
I think we had 18, 19, 20 arrests over like 6 months. And that was after we put signs in Spanish, and we did everything we could to communicate that you can't drink and do all this damage. But we did have a PBSO camera. I don't know if they moved it.
It was in one of their roving cameras, so they moved it to another high target area of crime. Yeah. Now may I speak?
Now you may speak.
Sorry. Ramsey McLeod, 24 South C Street. I just want to thank the Leisure Services staff, and particularly Mr. Chris Hanna. He has consistently worked with Commissioner Malega and myself to bring this park into reality and to take care of this park, even though it has been subjected to continual destruction at the hands of adult males who took over the futsal court as soon as it was installed. Unfortunately, they disobeyed all park rules and regulations and basically ran the children off so they could not play. Mr. Hanna has made several modifications to the area surrounding the futsal court to try and prevent further destruction of the green fencing and try to keep the soccer balls from landing in the street or a neighbor's yard. However, eventually the goals had to be removed because the damage was so extensive. That did not deter Mr. Hanna. He reached out, and we've had many discussions about what could be done to make this park more accommodating to children in the area. As budgeting monies became available, he began searching for replacement playground equipment, and several alternative ideas were suggested for the futsal area of the playground. In the end, more playground equipment was decided to be the best fit for this space. After the presentation was made to area residents, all agreed that a larger expanse of playground equipment and swings would be the best replacement option. I would like to encourage you to support this project and the associated expenses so we can update this park and our children can once again enjoy playing in it. And I think the larger additional problem is it's not just our park experience it with the futsal court, it's every park that we have or empty lot. These adult males come in here to play soccer and they destroy stuff. And we can't get any help. We've been to the Guatemalan Center. We've asked them to network with the churches to explain to the men that in our country, our culture holds children in very high regard. The men don't take the priority, but we're not able to communicate that cultural difference to the Guatemalan community or any of the immigrant males that live in that area. So if you find a workaround and figure out how to do that, you'll resolve a lot of the capital improvement costs we're incurring because of the damage that this specific group of men are causing. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, did you have a comment?
Yes, I have one comment.
Thank you.
Northeast Ballfield did the same thing.
Northwest. Madam Clerk?
Yes, the comment is from Bunny Rivera, President of Royal Poinciana Neighborhood Association, 101 South East Coast Street. Mayor and and members of the City Council, on behalf of the Royal Poinciana Neighborhood Association, we respectfully ask for your support of option 2 for the Royal Poinciana Park improvements. We believe this option provides the best balance of accessibility, recreation, and long-term value while creating a welcoming space for residents of all ages. Royal Poinciana Park is an important community gathering place, and investing in this vision will strengthen our neighborhood for years to come. Thank you for your consideration and for your continued commitment to improving our public spaces. That is the only comment I have for this evening.
Thank you. I have a question. Are there a lot of benches for the moms to sit on while they're seeing their kids?
So there's current benches and a pavilion there, and a part of this we will add at least 2 more benches, possibly more with any residual money or O&M money.
Stand around with their kids.
You believe they actually destroyed, we have a table, a 4-top table, and they melted the plastic that was over the table. Like, you wouldn't believe what we've gone through at that park. It's been challenging.
Thank you. And I think Ramsey's point is well taken. All right, we have a motion.
No, we don't.
We don't have a motion.
Motion to
No, we do.
approve.
Yeah,
option
we
two.
do.
You did? Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we have a
I
motion.
didn't write it down.
Mr.
And
Secretary,
Commissioner
I believe,
Secretary,
seconded it.
I'll amend it to include tree planting through Nest and finding budget for security camera.
Maliga Seg. Got it.
Jude, does the seconder agree?
I agree.
Okay, all in favor, Mr. McBoy?
I'm just concerned that everything I'm hearing doesn't give me confidence that the set of problems that led to problems before is going to be any different.
Well,
there's no
because
more
we don't have a
futsal.
futsal court.
Right.
So they won't be able to play there. We're recovering the futsal court with playground equipment for the kids, so the kids can come back.
Well, I certainly hope that that works, but I am concerned that and I don't necessarily know what the solution. It's a
No futsal
broader
court.
community. Hopefully.
Well, maybe we have a lot of parks and some of them are used and some aren't. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have a unanimous aye. Item number D
Motion to approve.
by Mr. McBoy.
Second.
By Mr. Segridge. Are there any public comments, ma'am?
No, it's the same.
No, I have no more comments, Madam
Okay,
Mayor.
and I have no cards up here, so all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Commission liaison reports and comments. Thank you very much. Thank you for the work that you do. Chris, you have a big job and you do a great job doing it. Yeah. And thank you, Ramsey. Okay. Commissioner comments and reports. Who wants to start? Miss Malega from District 1, and we'll just go down the road.
So tomorrow is the League of Cities luncheon. I'm looking forward to that. Thursday is a very busy day. We have backpack stuffing with the fire department. Thank you to Vice Mayor May for making sure that I knew that was happening at the Education Foundation. I'll also be touring Madison Terrace that day. And then I have a big meeting with a non-for-profit here at City Hall. And then we have Healthier Lake Worth Beach, our annual outreach at the Osborne community at 6:00. Healthier Lake Worth Beach will come and do their annual update. They do a lot of visioning with the community. What does the community want us to focus on next? What programs are happening? So that'll be 6:00 at the Osborne Community Center.
Is that Thursday or?
That's
Friday?
Thursday. Yep, that's all on Thursday. I did miss Splash Day, but I hear it was a great success. I'm sad that I didn't get to go this past Saturday to Splash Day. And Compass's fundraiser for Smart Ride is Sunday at 2:00 at Mad Hatter. Please come by.
I'll be there.
Donate to the fundraising. There's going to be silent auctions. There's going to be Jello shots. There's going to be lots of fun. And it is a major fundraiser for Compass for the Smart Ride this year, which now goes from Orlando to Tampa, Orlando to St. Pete, no longer down to the Keys. So if you have any time on Sunday, please come out 2:00 to the Mad Hatter.
Is it 2 to 7? Thank you very much, Mr. McBoy.
Thank you. I think I'm going to focus on something that I've raised before, but there have been things that have happened both in the city and in the county and nationally that make the picture a little different. I think all of us are aware that on the Thursday that we were in budget meeting around our lunchtime, we had quite a massive gathering of various law enforcement folks, including PBSO, but primarily driven, I believe, by Florida Highway Patrol and unmarked ICE folks. Did include some people in masks, a person who had a valid work permit and had a valid driver's license was apprehended. And then there has been another surge of ICE activity in Palm Beach County. The descriptions of that I read indicated again that PBSO was an involved agency. That concerned me that was reported. I assume that it was reported accurately, but I don't have a way to independently verify that. I think, well, I don't know whether people are aware, but a person who was not even being looked for by ICE in Texas was shot and killed. A person in Maine who was not being looked for and had legal permits but happened to be Hispanic, as was the person in Texas, was shot and killed by ICE. In Florida, I don't know whether it was Florida Highway Patrol or ICE that was after a person, but that person wound up getting run over and killed. I don't know what their status was particularly. I am very concerned that the folks that are involved in immigration control have, by all accounts, pretty limited training. At this point, there is nothing to prevent them from coming in with masks, without identification, coming in unmarked cars, which they do. I've seen them. And that opens us up to liability and to problems. I would hate for us in Lake Worth to be the next community where somebody is shot as part of immigration. I would really be pretty upset for that to be happening, especially because we in our community has done nothing to protect. I would like to ask for support from my colleagues that part of our duties with our contractor, PBSO, is to make sure that any law enforcement that's operating in the city not be masked, have judicial warrants, not administrative warrants, but a judicial warrants that says you have judicial approval to go into a particular building for a particular person for a particular reason. And if the law enforcement agency doesn't have those permits, it should be part of the protecting the health and safety and welfare of our community that PBSO says, I'm very sorry, you do not have a valid judicial permit. You can't be doing that in our community. That would be protecting our community. That is not happening at this point. We have a state law that says you have to be 25 feet back, and Florida Highway Patrol is very quick to assert that. I think it would be reasonable for us in our PBSO renewal of our contract to say that all law enforcement operating in the city has to be identified, can't be masked, has to be identified in a way that is readable at well above 25 feet. Otherwise, it's pretty useless, the identification. And so I would be looking for us to do some looking at the PBSO contract, make sure that whatever changes we make apply to all law enforcement agencies, and that we do protect what's going on. I also have a concern, and it's something that I just can't quite understand. The federal statement has been that we are going after the worst of the worst, the violent criminals, the gang rapers, the gang members, any number of serious things. They've been at it for a year. their approach is to grab people off the street. Now, I'm not a criminology expert, but I've read enough to know that that's not how that major operation that happened in our city, G and H, 9th and 10th South, that took lots of effort from local law enforcement, lots of planning, a year's worth of work, many people, and it very successfully addressed a major crime problem. Very different from grabbing people off the street. If federal law enforcement has an effective technique that's going after the worst and worst, and they've been doing it a year, I would think that there's nothing left for local law enforcement to do. We've gotten all the bad guys out of the city. If you take what is being told to us and what our tax funds are being used for, if you take that at face value of what we're being told, we should be all cleaned up by now. We don't need to do anymore. I don't think that's accurate. I think local law enforcement going after real criminals is a slow, careful, methodic, deliberate approach, not just grabbing some landscape guy or a roofer off the street who's on his way to work. So I have real concerns, and I would be looking for some support from my colleagues that we really look at our contract and look at how we are making sure that things that really do keep our community safe are part of whatever law enforcement is in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. May?
Thank you. Miss Malika kind of shared my schedule for the rest of the week as well, because I'm doing the same things. I'm actually going to be at Madison Terrace, kind of overlapping both you and the mayor because of timing, because I had it early in the morning, and I'm going to do the backpacks. So I am excited to go stuff the backpacks for the Education Foundation, which we are. You got a lot of me this week.
Lucky.
Yes, lucky you. And the I'm excited to go to the Healthier Lakewood Beach update that I think is one of the best programs that we have here in the city, and I'm glad that we do fund it at some level. We have, let's see, next weekend is NAPC. It feels like it's been forever because we didn't have one in July. So there'll be an NAPC meeting next week. We are looking to have them work with Leisure Services on the evening on the Ave coming up in August. So that'll be good. I love when groups can work together for the betterment of the city. One of the things that I was talking about is and we can talk about this when we talk about the annex next week, but one of the major expenses for the city and for the annex is the watering of the grass at the Cultural Plaza. And it is then fenced in and nobody gets to really use it anyway. So when we do start to talk about parks and we start to talk about turf, we may want to consider doing something like an artificial grass there. I know people are going to lose their mind, but an artificial grass there for maintenance, as well as it, because it is, we hopefully will start to be able to use it more and more and more. And you know, you don't want to go have events on mud, which is what it will end up being. And I don't think that having it fenced off all the time is really good either. I mean, people should be able to put down a blanket and have a picnic and, you know, enjoy that park for what it is. So that was just on my mind, but I know we're going to be talking about the annex next week, and I'm looking forward to that conversation. And I think, yeah, and I guess just my message to the community is to one of the things that we do have personal responsibility for is our own landscaping. And I would walk outside, if you have a sidewalk, walk outside in front of your house and see if your landscaping goes into and covers the sidewalk. Because even on my street, I can't walk my dog next to my boyfriend. Like we can't, and it's not the sidewalk, it's fine. It's the 3 feet wide or whatever it is, but it's all these trees that are growing over and the bushes and everything. And that's personal responsibility, and then we do have the corner blindness. So, I mean, if you live on a corner, please go look when you're pulling off of your street. Do you have to creep into where the pedestrian walkway is? If you do, you need to get your bushes cut before code comes and finds you, because it's unsafe. And I really don't want to have people be coded for that, because it isn't life safety, but it's very dangerous. Stop it, Ramsey. But so, I mean, and these are the things that I kind of notice. And these are the things that, we as members of this community do have a responsibility. The city can't do everything. And that is something that is personal responsibility, to take care of your own landscaping. So thank you.
Mr. Segridge.
Thank you, Mayor. I will also be stuffing backpacks, so you get to see me too, as well. Tomorrow is a busy day. I'll be
That's
Thursday.
No,
Visiting Madison Terrace as well. So excited to do that. I wanted to just say, thank you to the community for everyone who came out for the boards. Looking at the EDU board, we went from a task force to a board, and that created a little bit of a stir with some of the existing members and so on. But I think the community really stepped up for that. And it looks like, if everyone accepts, we'll have a full board for that for the first time in a long time, which is great. And I would encourage people to apply for the other boards. Your application stays on file in a year. And, we just now, because of one appointment, have a new opening on the Planning and Zoning Board. We also review attendance periodically, and that creates openings. So, don't just wait, get those applications in. It's a great way to get involved with the community. Speaking of community involvement, Benny's on the Beach is having its 40th anniversary this weekend. They've got 3 days of things planned, including, I think, dinner Friday night, cookout on Saturday. I forget what Sunday was. Beach cleanup. So just a cool way to get out there, support local, and see your friends and neighbors and so on. Should be good. I did a town hall on the 15th. It was a good success. It was a lot of good conversation and so on. It interestingly enough, I guess they take on their own direction. It didn't really focus on what I thought it was going to. People had more questions on other stuff. But that's good, right? And we had some people, get up and say some things, and other people in the audience thought it wasn't appropriate and so on. And I just want to reiterate, town halls are the time for everyone to come, whether you're a resident, a business owner, or somebody interested in the city or anything like that. And so long as you're respectful, you're always welcome to speak at those. And so thank you for everyone that came out to that. We've been doing a lot of changes in regard to code compliance, ordinances, planning and zoning, and really looking at our processes and procedures, and how it deals with residents and businesses. And that's not easy. And it's not easy on the residents and businesses coming and voicing their concerns. It's not easy up here weighing that and making those decisions. And it's certainly not easy on staff. Because, when we're looking at these processes, we're not really coming at it and saying, well, these are all the things we're doing right. It's more of, these are the things that are having challenges and that we need to improve. And I really think staff has stepped up the game in responding to these needs, and we're seeing things coming back a lot quicker with it, and ideas. And I think they're getting excited about improving the processes, and they're bringing forward ideas that they've had, sitting and waiting to do, and may have felt stifled before, right? So I would continue to encourage everyone in the community to keep sending us these items to work on, and I would encourage staff too. If there's ways that you want to improve these processes, who better than them to come back. We had a great example tonight with Mr. Waters and the zoning review. That wasn't something I entered into that conversation even thinking about, but through staff, we have that. So I think the city is moving in a great direction with that. And that is about it for me.
Thank you. I just have a couple things. Friday morning, the agenda meeting, pre-agenda meeting, I have a calendar call at the same time for a trial. So I will pass it on to you. I'll get there back as soon as I can, but it's up to the judge. A couple of years ago, it feels like now, Palmtran came to us and said, we're going to improve the bus, we're the heaviest user and we're going to get shades and Dixie Highway is going to be better. And I normally wouldn't, I'm going to ask if we could follow up with that because nothing has happened. And it's been a long time and we are the heaviest user. And I see people standing out there in the heat with no shade, with no place to sit down. I think that's just not right. So I would ask for a follow-up on that. The Municipal Institute is starting soon. And I'm wondering if I can ask, do we know, have there been applications coming in for it? Ms. Tiana? And we have, how many slots do we have? 25?
Hi, Madam Mayor.
Hi.
Tiana McKay, Interim Assistant City Manager. We have 30 spots, 25 are for adults and 5 of them are for high school students. And at his first come, first serve, we will create a waiting list. So if we do have more, then we will be sure to have them invite them to the next round.
Okay, great. And have we had applications coming in?
We have had applications coming in. I don't have the exact number, but I'll have an update from the PIO
And
tomorrow.
how are we reaching out to the high school? I'll help doing that.
We're doing a call out. So the PIO is creating a graphic to do a call out on social media, and we can share that with you so that you can be sure to be included.
I go up there sometimes. And along with lines. Oh, here was a question. I think I mentioned this to you the other day about the Municipal Institute. The information that the folks, it's wonderful. They walk around, it's visceral, they experience it. But on some level, there are certain things that we could have that, like the head of, Vaughn go without having it right there, just do the tour on a video and put that on the website so that people, even though they're not able to make the Institute, will be able to have the same kind of information. Again, one of the things we're trying to do is to get our residents more involved and more informed about how things are going. So I think if that would be, I think that'd be helpful. And either record, well, we talked about how that, the logistics of that or how to work, but replicate the information so that everybody can share. And I would ask that you guys do that.
Thank you. We'll follow up on that.
Okay, great. Thank you. And it was very lovely to see Mr. Ed from the other night passing the gavel as the past president to the new president. And that's really all I have. And Mr. McVoy, I'm not looking for a response, but I think, you are not the only person that is deeply concerned about what's going on out there. And with that, I pass it on to the city manager.
Good evening, Mayor. Just want to thank the commission for the meeting last night, the code meeting. I think it was
Yeah, it was
very
good.
informative, good discussion. I think we did the 2 meetings put together. We did come out with some different items that we can change and make us all a little more business friendly within the city. So I do want to thank the commission for that. Also, I want to thank Fire Rescue for their public education a few days ago. It was outstanding. Good information about the fire service and how they respond to the citizens within the
I forgot
city
to
of
thank you
Lakewood.
for the tour and the wonderful lunch. Thank you, guys. Or thank you. Pass that on, please.
And I did have an opportunity to visit another fire station yesterday. So I'll be giving you an update on the second fire station. Correct.
They're both
Both hours. Well, so I will be providing you with the update on that, my findings about at that station yesterday. Also, staff is in the process of finalizing the budget review. Remember, we promised that we would go back and look at those items that the commission directed us to look at. So we're in the process of putting all that information together. Will be submitted to the commission. So look forward to that probably coming into this week or probably early next week. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Madam Attorney.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wanted to let you all know that the city has been served with a lawsuit regarding property at the golf course. We are working on figuring out who will be representing the city in that action, and then we'll be sending a notice out to you, giving you a summary of the action and who the contact will be for that case. As you know, we're working on lots of ordinances and contracts and other things, and everything's going great. Let us know if you have questions.
I may have a question. Have we had any word back on the motion for summary judgment on the Lake Worth for all
We have
versus Lake
not.
Worth?
And we've been checking with outside counsel periodically, and as soon as we get that back, we're actually waiting on word from a judge or two in several cases. So we're hopeful that we'll get those responses soon.
Yes. Sometimes it's 18 months.
Well, we hope not that long, but it's been a few months already.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second by
Second.
Mr. McBoy, all in